Top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Let's get our headlines on this Monday morning from Sandy. What's up, Sandy?
Hello.
Hey, Blake and Aaron, how you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
All right.
Fantastic. Hope you had a great weekend.
Yeah. There was an accident overnight at Jake Scott intersection.
Yeah.
Yes, we're monitoring the situation. Vehicle overturned. Police are still on the scene, which is normally not a good sign. That normally indicates some sort of a fatality, but we've not received confirmation of that as yet. But yes, it does seem like it's a very, very serious accident. We actually got word of it after 1 o'clock in the morning. So it seems like it happened quite early. So as soon as we get some further details.
Single car?
The picture that I was sent, I only see one vehicle.
Yeah.
But it was pretty dark still. So it's a little bit challenging to really make that out. But I do only see one vehicle. So I'm not sure what they would have hit and turned over like that.
Yeah.
Somebody had mentioned that they were in the area last night and thought it also involved a motorcycle. So I don't know if there's any truth to that or not. We'll find out.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely flesh out more of the details as they become available. But it doesn't look good. All right. We found out on Friday that Makiva Bush, disgraced, former Speaker of the House, former premier of this country, facing multiple charges in court these days, including one for rape, has turned in his Order of the British Empire, his OBE.
Wow.
It's quite interesting that he has turned this in. He says he found himself conflicted about retaining an award that doesn't promote Cayman excellence, but rather one that many people believe celebrated imperialism. Well, we don't think that that's a real reason at all. We think the real reason he turned it in is probably going to be taken from him, because we do know that the UK was having a look at doing exactly that.
They can ask for it back.
Yep, pretty much. They were going to strip him of it.
More of a I'm going to break up with you first kind of thing.
Yes, he made a preemptive strike and handed it back and then tried to fabricate the story about why he handed it back. But we're not being fooled by any of it. And I think he did the right thing for once. It's hard to believe. But anyway, yes, he did this long social media post about why he gave it up and blah, blah, blah. Like I said, we're not really buying it, but good that he gave it back. All right. So Caymanian Charlene Henriquez has had an honorary degree conferred on her. So congratulations. The Northern Caribbean University conferred the honorary Doctor of Science degree on Caymanian Charlene Henriquez, who graduated among the first batch of NCU degreed nurses back in 1974. They say that they're awarding it as part of the institution's historic 100th commencement exercise that took place on last Sunday, which would be yesterday, August the 13th. She's, well respected in the community. She retired as the chief executive officer of the Cayman Islands Health Services Authority back in 2008, and lots of accolades and influenced a lot of people who are in the nursing and medical professionals. So congratulations to her. The 2023 Making Waves Awards awardees were announced recently. A slew of young people doing well. There are 9 award categories, including arts and culture, STEM, environment and sustainability, sports, finance, and so on. Big congratulations to people like filmmaker, help me out here. Caymanian filmmaker, Frank E. Flowers. There you go.
Oh yeah. I was like, wait, what?
I thought, yeah.
And others. Congratulations to all of them who've done an amazing job. Kamala Morgarusi received an award as well. She's a legal and professional. She got the Legal and Professional Services Award as part of the Maples Group Financial. So congratulations to all of them. Well,
I thought you said young commanding.
Well,
I was like, Frankie's not young. Sorry, Frankie.
Youngish. So a little bit of court news before we wrap things up.
Yeah.
A man received 5 years in prison for viciously chopping up his own nephew.
That's
wow, crazy. Yeah, Elado Brown, 54 years old, chopped his nephew multiple times during a dispute in West Bay. He was sentenced to only 5 years, to be honest, which is kind of shocking, for wounding with intent. He has more than, are you sitting down, guys? Listen to this.
Yeah.
He has more than 100 previous convictions.
So how do you only get 5 years after that?
Exactly. That would be the $1 million question. Only God knows. But yes, more than 100 previous convictions, including wounding and threatening violence. And Justice Cheryl Richards only gave him 5 years.
See, that should be your lead story. So I'm going to help you out here. I just with your stories. That should be like your
that particular one.
Well, they say if it bleeds, it leads. And then you finish your. That's been a long-standing news.
Well, there was a car wreck.
There was
Fingers
a car wreck. That is
though.
true.
Fingers crossed.
But then,
yeah.
in the newscast with the kicker, a feel-good story, and that would be the one of the making waves. See, that's how,
are you producing?
That's how the flow. So
Blake's trying to produce.
So we go out on a happy note. instead of the chop
man, it's crazy. Well, listen, you guys, I know you guys won't be able to tune in live, but you will want to tune in later on because we've got a hard-hitting show this morning. We're going to be talking to a domestic violence survivor whose husband works and lives in the Cayman Islands at a professional company. So that's going to be interesting. And we're also going to be taking a much deeper look at Palm Heights and the numerous complaints that are going on there because their staff were striking on Friday.
I did see something about that. Yeah, they walked out.
Yeah. Isn't that where all the celebrities stay when they
usually?
Yes. Yeah. They're more concerned about impressing celebrities than actually paying their staff. Apparently.
Huh.
Tune in.
White Yardie staying there?
I think he was over at the Marriott.
Yeah. No, I don't think he is.
All right. We'll catch you on Bobo. See you tomorrow.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. How you guys doing? We're going to get started here in just a second, about 40 seconds, in fact. Let me just grab all of my links for my social media folks. And then we're going to hit the road running this morning. We got a lot to talk about. Okay, hold on one second. There's the YouTube link. Happy Monday. YouTube, Facebook.
Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio. We are still spilling the tea and committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman.
Live. Direct.
It's the cold, hard truth. Now. Join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
How is everybody doing this beautiful Monday morning, August the 14th? 4 more days until my birthday. Oh yeah, we're getting ready for it. Happy Monday, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're just getting all of our links sent out to everyone on social media. This is going to be quite an interesting show, I feel like, this morning. All right, let's grab those links and see what's going on. Oh, shoot. My apologies, Chuck. Oh, gosh, Chuck, I thought I was ready and forgot to hit that button. We're good. Let's play the intro again. Okay.
Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio.
We are still spilling the tea.
And committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman,
Live, direct.
it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
All right, beautiful people, round 2. Let's get this show on this beautiful Monday morning. Happy Monday to everyone. Hope that you guys are having a fantastic day. We're ready. Just forgot to press that little button earlier. We are ready to rock and roll. Happy Monday, August the 14th, 4 days until Friday, which is my birthday. It's a big one this year, but crazy enough, nothing really planned. In my head, leading up to it, I had some big plans, and then I don't know what happened. It just kind of fizzled out, and it's just another day in paradise and trying to keep it together. That's what we just keep moving. So before we get into some of our serious topics, I want to check in on everyone, make sure that you guys are okay. I had a fairly decent weekend. Did some of my health checks. I know I told you guys I was going to be doing that. Some of them require some follow-ups. This is why, folks, you got to make it a priority. I'll tell you guys about it another day, but you really have to make it a priority to have things checked out. Don't take anything for granted, especially when it comes to your health. So yesterday morning, I went and played a little bit of pickleball. Oh, geez, I'm peace. Who told me to do that and forgot all about my bum knee, that left knee? It's been feeling pretty good lately. So, of course, I forgot all about it. And then within a couple hours of playing pickleball, whoo, honey, chill. That knee was feeling like I'm about 80 years old. It was like swollen and painful. So I had to put an ice pack on it a couple times. I actually fell asleep last night with an ice pack on my knee. That's how bad it was. Oh, my God. So just reminding us that we're no longer, 21. Or even 31, we're getting up there, and we have to be ever so grateful, folks, for the good health that we do have, and to try to make it better if we can. Keep moving, keep exercising. Of course, that's very, very important. But at the same time, you got some limitations now, honey chia. Not what it used to be. So, yeah, it's it's a hot mess. But I'm trying to I've got my chair just in case I need it today, and I'm also trying to bend it and kind of keep it moving. The worst thing to do is to have it, seize up on you, because then you got a real problem. So so we're doing all those fun things, but we're not going to let it stop us. I'm going to keep moving as much as possible. So how was your weekend, everyone? Did you guys have a good weekend? I hope you did. Lots been going on around here. Been looking at a few stories for all of you. And of course, we've got a few this morning that are going to be a bit of a hard-hitting conversation. But before we get there, good morning to Miss Vernita. Good morning to Morna. How are you? Stephen Nicholson is here joining us in the UK. How's life in the UK? Is that your little dog in the UK? So cute. Miss Juanita Ebanks is in the house with a little baby for her profile photo. So cute. Miss Ive is here wishing everyone a blessed day. She says to her lovely classmates, and hope everyone had a great weekend. Miss Olivia Leroy, Good morning to Miss Olive. Robert is in the house. Marshall is here. Patricia Blake joining us. Saying good morning, K-Man and the rest of the world. Evelyn is here. Wee Wee joining front row and center. Look at the beautiful Daisy. Hello, Miss Daisy. Morning. I don't know who this is with the Japanese looking writing, but good morning to you. Dean, how are you? Diamond Princess. Marco, good morning, Marco. How you doing, honey child? Alejandro is here. Miss Barbara is here. And another Barbara is here. We've got Barbara G and Barbara Barnett both joining us. Both beautiful. Thank you. Alejandro says, try not bend any chairs on anyone this week. Oh, Lord. I'll tell you. Miss Bonnie, good morning to you, joining us from East End. Everton, good morning, my darling. And Leroy, also here. I guess you guys know the joke now about these throwing chairs and stuff after that fiasco in the U.S. Was it not this weekend, but the weekend before? We never really got to talk much about it, but it was crazy. A big brawl, a big fight ensued. And apparently we had a brawl of our own over the weekend. I need, is Kevin around? I need Kevin to double check something for me. One quick second here. Let me see here. So, yeah. Okay, let me just get, I'm gonna get Kevin to just check in one little thing here for me. So yeah, so there's been a lot going on. Let me just see here. Now I'm gonna send it to you directly. Ooh, honey child. Yes. So let me tell you what we've got lined up for you today. So we're gonna be talking about Tilly's. Ugh, they're the gift that keeps on giving, honey child. They are something else over there. Well, we're going to try to spend some sufficient time on them this morning to really, address at least some of the issues. I feel like there's a lot going on there, so we may not have the time to address everything. But yeah, they're a hot mess, really and truly. Kev, I'm going to send you a few things. I want you to just listen and check for me. Okay. All right. So I'm just having Kevin check a few videos, making sure that they're all crystal clear in terms of no profanity, because I've not had a chance to listen to them in full. So before we play them on air, we'll make sure that that's the case, because it look like y'all be ready to speed dial off reg. Off reg. Sandy said a curse word. Please save us. Ugh, y'all need Jesus. So let me tell you about Friday's show. First of all, does Sandy curse? Yes. I'm not going to lie. I may do so. I have to probably be in a particular mood, or you just get on the wrong side of me and, a couple of words might drop on you. It's not something that I do on a regular. My poor Aunt Lottie, she'd be rolling in her grave, child, if she ever heard that I could curse like a sailor. But I don't do it because a lot of times I don't necessarily find that it's necessary, although sometimes it becomes necessary to pop off a little bit. You know what they say about people who curse have a certain level of intelligence, because, well, it depends on how you use it, to be honest. But anyway, so we had a gentleman on Friday's show that the second we called him, he was obviously waiting for a phone call, and he went off like a lunatic. Well, we hung up on him immediately because we were not going to tolerate that level of disrespect in the program, and he did not need to be using all the profanities. So we had a bit of an after show, and I want to introduce this concept to you all in case you've not heard of it. Morning, Miss Daisy. So the after show is, basically you have the regular show, and then lots of podcasters and stuff do this, even live TV. Sometimes they have the after show, where you kind of get a slightly different show. So we behave ourselves on radio, and then the after show, if we have to turn up a little bit, we're going to turn up a little bit. So we did call him on Friday. And I think Friday might be the ideal day to kind of do an after show if we're going to do one. So we had an after show with this guy. We called him back. Funny enough, during the after show, all of a sudden, we didn't hear no profanity. He was behaved. I mean, he was still kind of going on a little bit cuckoo, trying to defend his wife when she's not defensible. But anyway, he wasn't really popping off quite the same, right? The energy changed because we were waiting. I was waiting to meet his energy. Because, you know, sometimes you have to meet people's energy. When they come at you crazy, you got to give them a dose of crazy back. And so I was ready for him, if needed, to meet his energy. But I remained calm and I remained my composure. And people were like, oh, Sandy, you got the patience of Job. I said, not really. But, you know, I decided to just keep it cool. So, of course, he called the police complaining that we were telling falsehoods about him. And I was like, really? Did you verify any of it? No. Well, you know how the police are. They'll take anybody's word about anything. So I said, yeah, this is the same dude who claims that his wife didn't really go to jail for bringing her mother in on somebody else's passport, when that's not questionable. She did go to jail for that. And then when he saw that we obviously knew that information, remember, imagine she worked for the DPP's office and was breaking the law. That takes a special kind of person, to be honest. Ooh, Melody and Melanie, whatever their names are, Melody and May. Wow, they're like the you know, Filipino mafia here, the foolishness that they've been going on with. You know, and it's alleged that they're bringing in people on work permits when they actually have no work for them. You see, they don't know that their own Filipinos are talking. One observation I've made about the Filipino community, and I really had to stop those of you who were like, oh, you know, all these Filipinos are just not. I'm like, no. Listen. We're not going to tolerate that level of discourse on the program. We're not going to use words like all. Like, you can't come in here and say all Caymanians are lazy, all Caymanians are this, all Jamaicans are criminals. And no. You can speak to the ones that you've had experience with. That's fine. But when you start to throw an entire nationality or an entire nation under the same bus, you know, that's not right, because you've got good and bad in every single situation and every single thing, right? So there's no such thing as all Jamaicans being a particular way. There's no such thing as all Caymanians being lazy. The vast majority of Caymanians are not lazy, you know, even if it's 10, 20%. Well, that's too many, but still, that's not all. The majority out there hustling and trying to make an honest living. Just like Filipinos, the vast majority of Filipinos come here and they do the right thing. Does that mean that they all do? No. There are some obvious Filipino criminals here. And you know what is so crazy? The ones that tend to steal people's money and be very, very conniving, in my observation, are the women. I haven't really noticed too many of the men getting mixed up in situations. It tends to be the women. Remember the one who was, I'm trying to remember her name now, who was taking work permit money from people. Okay. Who was taking, you know, work permit money from people and then, you know, not even taking out their permits. And she owes a ton of people money. Remember when we had featured her some months back? And I'm trying to see if I can remember her name now. Oh gosh, trying to look. Anyway, this was back in, yes, this is back in March and thereabouts. Yeah, actually from even before that, right? So her name, let me see now. Trying to remember her name. But anyway, you know, she's up to the most, taking people's money and not taking out permits. Like I said, it tends to be the women. They've sent lots and lots of evidence on this. I'm trying to remember her name now. Oh, we got a passport, honey child. Oh gosh, sometimes these names. Hold on, let me make sure that's the right name. Okay, hold on, let me see. Anyway, you know, she was doing the most with taking people's hard-earned. Danilyn, remember her? Taking people's money and then not taking out permits for them. That's theft. You know, I don't care how you try to slice it. That's exactly what that is. So that's not everybody. That's not every single Filipino lady. You know, That is, Danilyn Gironella. Yeah. She is one of those that has, and I think she's still here, doing the most, taking advantage of her own people. Two observations that I've made about them that is very, very interesting. Number one, they tend to stick in their own community when they take advantage of each other. So, I mean, it's interesting, but I guess, you're comfortable hoodwinking your own people, I suppose, at the end of the day, right? The other thing is they're so incredibly close knit that even when they're doing something wrong against each other, you find that they're less likely to complain, especially outside of the community about it. I've made this observation. We featured, I'm trying to remember the other lady's name who was like practically making her little kids sleep any and anywhere. And she was also a bit deceptive and a bit of an alleged theft, right? Alleged thief. But when the Filipinos and Filipinas were coming on the program complaining about her, others in the community, they're seeing like leaders here, whatever, like, oh, don't go to Sandy, don't go to Cayman Mall Road. Like they like to keep it very, very hush hush in their own community. That's the difference with them. Like, I don't feel like Jamaicans really do that. They'll talk about each other and they can put it out there. Caymanians definitely don't care. They're going to be like, oh, this person owes me money. This person hoodwinked me. This person stole from me, whatever. Filipinos, I think some of it is like they're here in our country. They're supposed to be behaving. They actually make them go through this bit of a course before they come here with their foreign minister's department or whatever, where they tell them how to behave and when you go to the Cayman Islands and what is expected of you. And those who don't live up to that, are really, they can be ostracized within the community and they're really, really looked down upon. But at the same time, they also want to hide that. You know what I'm saying? Like they want to keep it amongst themselves. And that's not right, because we've seen the one that went to court. Remember, she was convicted and sentenced, showing up in her fake designer clothing and whatever, booking all these airline tickets to nowhere because she was pocketing thousands of dollars to support her lifestyle. And then she claims like, oh, it was to help some sick person in the Philippines or whatever. That's a bold-faced lie. This girl was living her best life off of the money and the backs of the Filipino community. And I know that it takes a lot for them to come forward and go to the police and make a complaint against one of their own. And so when you see it go the full yard, and it ends up in court and the person gets convicted and all that, it really took a lot for them to do that, because it makes them look bad. And, they've been sort of, told not to do anything that makes them look bad, even if they're the victims. Oh, you don't come forward, you don't talk about it. There's been several that have been victimized, like sexual assault victims, raped by another Filipino, and those ladies came forward and, the guy went to jail and, he's been convicted. And that was hard, because even when you saw the evidence and you heard the testimony in court, one of the things that he did was he was contacting other members of the Filipino community, trying to convince that female not to report it to the police, not to move forward with it. So it really takes a lot for you to go against the green in your own community when they're very, very close knit and they don't want to talk about, the wrong that is being done to people. And the victims, part of it is a little bit of an Asian culture as well. The victims don't feel like they can come forward and go to the police because other members of the community is like, oh, you're the one who's making us look bad, not the perpetrator, which is ridiculous. So as with all cases, we stand with victims. And of course, we support victims no matter who they are. So I want to continue to encourage members of the Filipino community to speak up. I mean, you're living in this country. You have a right to speak up. Nobody should be ripping you off. Nobody should be sexually assaulting you or raping you or assaulting you in any way, shape, or form, regardless of who it is. Even if it's a member of your own community, it's still wrong. So May and Melanie, or that's their names, right? They've had a long run. And I know the husband's like, oh, you don't call my wife and my name again. Well, I'm going to call you and your wife's name. And I don't really care what you have to say about it, because you know it's the truth. You know what your wife is up to. And, you know, y'all just need to stop it. And WORC needs to look into this woman and actually do something about her. That's the thing. When I have to get on the show and expose people for wrongdoing because the system isn't working and the system isn't penalizing people, that's when you know something is truly wrong. Right? So the audacity of him to call the police on me, I was like, child, please, y'all the ones who need to be arrested, because what you're doing is breaking the law. You know? But this is how they keep people silenced in this community. They're going to call the police on you when you haven't done anything wrong. You're exposing the wrongdoing. Oh, but you must keep your mouth shut. You must have nothing to say. Well, let me tell you something. Today is Monday. Praise the Lord. I'm going to be 50 in 4 days. And I can tell you that I don't care about any of that. You can call the law all you want. The police should have me in speed dial by now. Bring. Speed dial spot number 1, maybe number 2. Maybe they got some other real criminal in spot number 1. I don't know. But they can speed dial me anytime they want. And as y'all can see from Friday's program, if you go listen to the after show, I know exactly how to deal with them, honey chill. Not today, TD. Not today, Bobo. Don't come to me with your foolishness. And in the meantime, you know, we have a right and we have an obligation to try to stand for the right things in this country, to try to uphold the law, which is what the police should be doing. You know, if we have to help them do that because they're a little bit behind the times, then we will do so. And it is what it is. Don't make anybody silence you in your country. I don't care that he's from North Side. I don't care if he's a Caymanian, because he's one of those Caymanians and I got no sense. So I'm going to sit down and be impacted by him and his foolishness. Now imagine he works for, is it PWD? All these people got government jobs, you know, and the 2 sisters work for education department. One is a teacher and one is an administrative worker in the department. Boy, I tell you, if y'all were to really know how that grinds me, you see? Good government jobs that could go to good, honest people. This is who the civil service is hiring. They better have a re-examination of that. But anywho, I not really business with him still. You know how that is. So apparently, he actually got into a fight. Let me tell you how crazy and foolish he is. First of all, the husband obviously has a problem with alcohol. You know, and it's sad when people don't want to admit that they have an issue with alcohol, because it can really bring out the worst in you. And I think in his case, that is definitely happening. You heard his own sister begging him, Freddie, oh, Freddie, please stop drinking, Freddie. Listen, if you want to be a drunken fool and have this Filipino woman take advantage of you, and by extension, take advantage of the Cayman Islands, the people of the Cayman Islands, well, let me tell you how this can go now. She can take advantage of you. That's your business, right? WRC not going to do nothing about it, because they accept that although some of these relationships are dysfunctional to the hilts, it might be a marriage of convenience, but both parties are in it for whatever they're in it for, right? So he's happy being taken advantage of, and she's happy, whatever the compromise is, being with a foolish Caymanian drunk that really probably doesn't have much to offer her other than the status, other than the ability to stay here, you know, and he can breed her and have these children. And, you know, that's her ticket. That's her anchor babies and whatever. And she gets to get a good job in the Cayman's government, despite being a convicted criminal, right? And he gets to drink every single weekend and probably treats her like, you know what? And she doesn't care, because that's the compromise, you see? When you're in these types of dysfunctional situations, the compromise is, well, I put up with someone who's a drunk. I put up with someone who's probably lazy, who probably even, you know, maybe abusive and all this sort of thing when he's drunk, because I get to stay in the Cayman Islands. And the opportunities that they get here is still better, even if you're with a drunk, right? It's still better than the situation in the Philippines. Isn't that sad? And then the worst part is, well, the best part for them, but worst part for us, is they get to bring every Tom, Dick, and Harry from the Philippines once they're here, or wherever country, because we're going to talk about Tilly's here in a minute. So stay tuned for that hot mess, right? Same MO, bring in whoever they want to our beautiful country, acting the fool, right? So, and of course, they do it under the guise of, just tell my guest I'm running a little bit behind. She should probably come closer to 9 a.m. Yeah. So, under the guise of I'm going to bring all my family members here to help them out. You see, that's the compromise. And they're willing to compromise and put up with a lot in order to have that privilege. And the poor people, they themselves are willing victims in all of this. You know why? Because it's still a better opportunity. Even when they come here and their family members are taking money from them that they know they don't have and they have to borrow it, their thing is, okay, I just need to get a foot in the door. I just need to get to the Cayman Islands. And once I get there, I'll find another Filipino that's going to help me out. I'll find a job, and then they start moving up the ladder. Next thing you know, they're like May and Melanie. Good jobs in government. Find some full Caymanian maybe to marry if they didn't leave a husband back home. Sometimes I don't make a difference either, but I'm just saying. So this is the situation, folks. It's not just in the Filipino community. It's a lot of communities. And, as a Caymanian, I have to stand for something. And I'm not going to stand for any foolishness. So, Mr. Douglas, you can get all up in your feelings all you want. You can curse and carry on. Please know that I don't care. And, of course, he was, went on Friday afternoon into the evening hours to go fight his own brother. And we have it on video over this whole foolishness. You can imagine. So his brother had to hold him down and call the police on him. I think he's now been arrested for his drunken, ridiculous behavior because he's trying to defend this Filipino wife. Poor him. I tell you, some of y'all really ain't got no sense. So listener to the program, says Sandy, afternoon, the show, I got to understand that May has an inside connection at WORC. Well, nothing would surprise me, but Jeremy Scott now is over at WORC. He's the head over there. And Jeremy, we're going to put your foot to the fire. And I'm going to give Jeremy the benefit of the doubt and say, I don't believe that. I don't know. They all say that when they're ready, that they have inside connections. A lot of times what's happening is WRC, immigration, whatever we call them these days, they have to carry out a certain degree of due diligence when they investigate these matters. So they can't quite just grab somebody up and arrest them, and they are slow because they got a small team of enforcement officers. They need more enforcement officers. Mr. France Manderson, please let WORC hire more investigative and enforcement officers. They need it. Okay? And yes, get on it. All right. RD, good morning. Alejandro says when she's off the radio after 10:30 a.m., the show must go on uncensored. Yes, so that explains the after show. Morning, Mr. Maris. In case you missed the definition of the after show, that's when we're going to, after 10:30, when we're no longer in radio, we're still going to be live on social media. And if we have to go uncensored, unfiltered, even more than usual, well, honey child, buckle up, put on your seatbelt, hold on to the desk in the classroom because we're going to do it. That's just how it works. Okay. And the best thing is Meta is not policing nobody in terms of that sort of thing. They don't care what profanity you use. They're not going to be calling my phone or calling DMS or calling anybody else. But, we heard Sandy might have had somebody curse on the radio. They don't care. Meta does not give a two hoots. RD says, how many Caymanians you know that got fired from CIG and can get another job with them only in Cayman? Try and hush. Not just fired, but actually went to jail for like passport fraud and can still get job up in education department. You go figure. Alejandro says, yeah, I agree. Not all bad, but all the people in this island want to take good credit. Not all people are good or bad at anything. So it's confusing world to worry about generalizations. Yeah, let's not generalize. We're going to talk very, very specifics. Leroy, good morning. Alba, ¿cómo estás? Keisha, morning to you. Juliet is in the house. First lady says the lady at talk, Morning to Ruby. How are you? Miss Darlene Manzanera says light skin and straight hair goes a far way. Sad, but it's true. Poor them. Alejandro says, glad you understand how the government has corrupted people in it. Listen, corruption will run rampant all over the place if you allow it to. That's what I'm saying. We have to stamp it out. And how do we stamp it out? We get that flashlight and we shine a light in every corner of society. Rich, poor, black, white, Filipino, Caymanian, it don't make no difference. Jamaicans, we just shine a light on everybody. And then everybody knows, well, darn it, I'm not safe. I'm not safe from the truth. The truth gonna find you, honey child. Morning, Miss Angela. Marshall says, how is she a convicted criminal and have a government job? Well, I mean, apparently government believes in giving people second chances, honey child. And so, you know, at this stage, I guess she has status from this Caymanian husband of hers. So she's a Caymanian. So yes, they get second chances. And that's just how it is. The other thing is she didn't serve more than a year in jail. So I think it is different when it's just like a couple months of a sentence. But go look up her case. I think she was using her maiden name then. So the case might be under the maiden name. And not Douglas. But it's her. Strong Wilt says, good morning, Sandy. You don't see that they come here and marry the rich, older Caymanian man. They're not settling for less. They're taking over the island. Well, you know what, Strong Wilt? They can't marry no Caymanian fool who won't be married. Let me be very clear. And there are people who are, it's a genuine relationship. They really do love the people that they're with. So you can't look at every single relationship and assume that it's a marriage of convenience, because then that wouldn't be right either. However, yes, I do make some observations about who they get married to. Now, let me say this, Strong Wilt. You know, I have seen them, Mr. Douglas, not rich or anything like that. I have seen them marry people that really makes me scratch my head, but it makes you understand the level of desperation. Because trust me, some of them marrying undesirables from like down in Dog City, druggies and all kind of stuff, just to be able to stay in the Cayman Islands. So sometimes they have no standards whatsoever. They've been trying to step up a little bit, but I know of a couple of cases where they married people. I'm like, damn, of all the people in the Cayman Islands, all the Caymanian men that are available, that's the best you could do? Him? And it tends to 99.99999% of the times, it is women marrying men. It's not Filipino men marrying women. I don't know what it is about them, but they kind of stick to their own. They're not into the mix-up situation. But the women, they're willing to settle. You know, maybe, I don't know, they got babies back home that they got to try and bring or whatever. I don't know what explains the disparity, but there is a real disparity when you think about it. So it's madness. Morning, Keisha. Morning, Noel. RD says, and to make it worse, the policymakers of this country only worried about the business community, so look for no common sense policies to address these kinds of egregious foolishness. Gabby, good morning, says they can't discriminate because of your record depending on the position. Yes, honey child. Garrett says after 10:30, the cold hard truth gets colder, the harder truth becomes the colder, harder truth. Dion, good morning to you. Marshall says, shine the light on all the cockroaches. Yeah, they don't like light, you know, they start scurrying. You ever turn on a light in a room full of cockroaches? Oh my God. Woo! All of a sudden they start running because the light's like, no, don't turn the light on. Don't see us for what we really are. All right, let's talk about Tilly's. Speaking of cockroaches, let's talk about Palm Heights and their restaurant there called Tilly's. I am so sick and tired of these people. What exactly are they doing at Palm Heights? And more importantly, I need a flashlight the size of a friggin', you know, those big industrial fans, like when you go to like, you know, outdoor spaces and they're trying to keep 100 people cool. They've got those super wide industrial fans. That is what we need for Palm Heights, a flashlight like that size. Because they have so much messiness going on over there that this morning, I tell you, not a word of lie, I don't even know where to begin. Well, let's begin with Friday's strike. So the staff decided to strike on Friday. The staff have been complaining to me for quite some time now about all the shenanigans that are going on there. And when I say shenanigans, geez, peace. Not a word of lie. Oh my God. We're going to try to break it down. First of all, I'm shocked to discover that they don't even have an HR manager. Because somebody said to me, Sandy, how can all this stuff be going on if they have an HR manager who is, responsible for keeping these things in check. Well, it turns out they don't have an HR manager, so that's one of the major problems. They're just doing whatever they want. Nobody's checking them. They're flying by the seat of their pants, and that's just how it is. So there was supposedly a strike on Friday where the staff, who have had more than enough, have basically said, listen, we're sick and tired of being mistreated. Salary issues, let's just delve into it, right? Number one, the staff are complaining that they're not getting paid per the law. Now, remember when the Mr. Troy Leacock was on the program, and he was here talking about, he's the president of the Cayman Islands Tourism Association, and he explained in very, very good language the fact that the gratuity scheme isn't just something that you make up as you go along. It is actually in the law, in the regulations. It tells you how to do it. You're supposed to register, right? And you pay gratuity just like you pay pension or anything else that's obligated by law. The problem with Palm Heights is they're not following the law, none at all. They do not care about the law. Planning law, immigration law, what else? Human rights law. They don't care about nothing. They're running an operation over there. To be quite frank, I've never seen anything like it. And I want to say unequivocally this morning that the DART organization owns the property. And whilst the DART organization has nothing to do with the runnings of the property, if I were them, I would take that property back from Palm Heights. Y'all need to seriously consider the reputational damage that Palm Heights is doing to the DART brand, because a lot of people don't understand and they don't get it. So this has nothing to do with the DART organization, but it's making y'all look bad. Caller, good morning.
Yeah, morning, Sunday. So what I hearing about Palm Heights and their criminal actions and all this type of things, right? Why the police don't give a good old raid to the Palm Heights hotel? Because when they ready to go and raid Caymanians for some simple little complaint, and we all know about these things that's going on in Palm Heights now, so why they can't give them a good little raid and see what's going on up inside there?
Well, I mean, listen, they're under investigation by WORC.
People, but they're scared. They're not scared of the small people, but they're scared of the big people. Or what? How big they is? Like giants or what? I can't see them.
Well, I wouldn't say that they're not being investigated, because I know for a fact that they are. But as I said earlier, I guess these things take time, honey child. A lot of time, apparently.
Yeah, they're taking great time with them. I bet you if it was some little small person that they hear going on, they have them in jail tomorrow, though.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much.
Easy to catch a small man.
Oh, yeah. All right, folks. Yes, I mean, there are a lot of questions in relation to what's happening over at Palm Heights and why there hasn't been any real action yet. I guess government is crossing their T's and double checking their I's and dotting everything before they deal with these people. So in the meantime, CMR is going to just bring the truth to the table and tell y'all all the different types of complaints that we have been receiving about them, because it is ridiculous. Miss Darlene says lawless, and that would be the one word that would effectively describe what is happening at Palm Heights. Lawlessness all over the place. Okay. So staff are complaining about their gratuities, that they're not getting paid gratuities. In terms of pay, some of them are making $800 for the month and told that they should be happy. CI dollars, that is. They should be happy that they're even making that, because they're not worth it. Oh, I'm gonna speak to very specific employees who are on work permits who work over at Tilly's this morning, because you have to know that you don't get the privilege of coming to this country and taking any benefits from this country, even if it's just a job and a decent salary, and you get to think that you're going to treat Caymanians or even Jamaicans or anybody for that matter less than humane. You're not going to do it in my country. Not today. Okay? You've been getting away with it at Tilly's. You're going to be named and put to shame here today. And you better stop it. Because some of the things that I'm hearing that's going on is beyond ridiculous. Huh? Yeah, I've been hearing it for years. I told y'all during COVID, people have been complaining to me. In fact, ironically enough, I had someone who's running for political office reach out to me at the time about how, those people at Palm Heights, they're really good people. Give them a break. Come, I'll introduce you to people. I said, who? Introduce me to who? I look like I need to meet anybody. Oh, come on, tell you. I don't need no food. You don't have to feed me. I can afford my own food at Tilly's, Palm Heights, or anywhere else for that matter. I don't care. I'm not interested in any of that stuff. Right? You think you can hoodwink me? Mm-hmm. Oh, come and meet the people there. This is how they fool celebrities. Oh, come for free. Stay at our property. This, that, and the next thing. That doesn't make you a good person. Just because you can have celebrities at your facility, that does not make you a good person. Right? It's how you treat the everyday people, your workers, that speaks volumes to who you actually are as an organization. And I must tell you quite frankly, that Palm Heights is a horrible organization. I don't know who's responsible for what, since there is no HR manager. I understand that there's somebody there by the name of Ian, who supposedly is some kind of manager, general manager, so they claim. Here's another problem that they have over there at Tilly's. Is immigration paying attention this morning? Because the other issue that they have over there is they're hiring people in positions, and then they are, putting in work permits for one thing, but yet they're running around as managers and all kind of other things. So in other words, they are working outside the terms of their work permit. So Ian might not be, as far as the work permit is concerned, Ian might actually not even be the general manager, but that's how he's being introduced to people. Mm-hmm. Gordon White is a general manager. Another name again. Here we go. They really need to, somebody says he's not based in Cayman. Well, they really need to get it together. Seriously. Johan, good morning. Mm-hmm. Morna says they don't like Caymanians at all. They're giving Caymanians a hard time just for them to walk off their job. And by the way, that's called constructive dismissal, and that's actually against the law. You know that? We're going to talk some more about it. All right. Not paying people gratuities. Pension, I understand that their employees started back paying pension last year. Oh, now CJ Britke, the pension plan, has no pension contributions. DLP, Sasha Rankin, she's a good person over there. Whoever else is over there, y'all need to raid Palm Heights. You need to get those records ASAP, and you need to see what's going on. They're not paying people. They're not paying gratuities, right? They're not paying pension. God knows if they're paying insurance. And you know what they tell people? Oh, well, you don't get to, we're not getting any money because all these celebrities that we bring here, they're actually not paying. Well, that's hogwash. And that's on you. How can you be running a hotel where you letting everybody stay for free? Nobody's paying. So then that's your excuse for why you're not paying your staff? Y'all have to be crazy on a different level. I've never heard of such a model for a hotel before. So you're not in the business to be profitable? What are you in the business for? Oh, social media clout? To look good? Oh, we're a boutique hotel. And we just had Justin Bieber and his wife here just this past week, by the way, staying at the facility. And I heard that they were horrible people. Justin Bieber. Give him my number so I can tell him about his backside too. And Hailey Bieber. Be nice to the little man. Yes, you're not at their level anymore, but you don't know when you go fall, honey child. Justin Bieber, you don't forget you had half your face paralyzed the other day. Your singing career might be over one day, and you're going to be a bum out in the streets. And a Caymanian might be flying directly into LA, see you as a bum on the street, and have to give you a meal. You never know. That's how life is, honey child. The higher you go, the harder you're going to fall sometimes. So take your time just because you feel like you've arrived in life, and know how you're treating people. Those poor employees at Palm Heights that y'all were overworking and had at your beck and call, right? Having them work overtime 24/7, making all kind of demands. Would you want to know that those people are barely getting $1,000 US a month to be able to survive here in the Cayman Islands? And you guys are coming on comp trips, which I'm sure, even if the stay is comp, then people are eating and paying for something. I would be hard to believe that millionaires come and don't want to pay a single thing, not leaving any tips, no gratuities, no nothing. And yet, the staff there are being treated horribly and being expected to work like a dog and still get treated horribly on top of it. Palm Heights, y'all gotta do better. Now, here's what I know about these people. Let me tell you how they operate. The last time I talked about them, they started to make some phone calls. Oh, we need to do something about the bad press that we're getting from CMR. Y'all can't do nothing about it. You know what I told the person who said something to me about that? I said, oh, they have an issue with the bad press. I said, this is what you must tell them. Get your ish together. Follow the laws of the Cayman Islands. It's so simple, really. There's nothing complicated about it. CMR will never have your name in our mouth over on this side of the thing if you do what you're supposed to be doing. But you see, no. That's not how they operate. They want to have all this money out there owing in the streets to their vendors, subcontractors. You know how many thousands upon thousands of dollars they owe people? From tilers to builders to, small to medium Caymanian businesses. They owe all sorts of money and they're refusing to pay it. Right? So they're not going to do the right thing. It's easier for them to try and make a phone call talking about how can we silence CMR, right? And how can we handle the bad press that we're getting? You handle the bad press by fixing your mess of a situation is what you do. That's how you handle it. Don't be looking at me. You can't, listen, there's not enough steak dinners in the world. There's not enough hotel stays or anything else that would compensate me in any way, shape, or form that's going to make me not speak the truth on who you people really are. It's egregious on a different level. So don't waste your time trying to make any phone calls this morning thinking that anybody controlling me, honey child, because I don't know what island you living on. Down Palm Heights, it's like they're in a little world of their own. Okay. Now here it is. Let me show y'all a little something. Exhibits now. All right. This gentleman is from Nepal. Brought his family here. So initially he came to the country. Was kind of behaving initially. Then he turns around and bring his wife. Hold on. Who else he brought? Wife, nephew, and niece to work in housekeeping. And he's the housekeeping supervisor. How on earth? Of all the positions, I mean, housekeeping doesn't really take a whole lot of skill level. Some training, yes. I'm not saying it's no training at all. But we need to bring out someone all the way from Nepal to be a housekeeping supervisor. And then he has to turn around and bring the wife, the niece, and the nephew to work with him in the same department. And y'all think that this is normal? Well, let me tell you what the people say about him that have to work with him. They say he's racist. Ooh, honey child. I don't know what part of Nepal you're from, and I don't really know much about Nepalese individuals, but let me tell you something, honey. You should not be racist. There's nothing about your country, and the little that I do know, you're not considered Caucasian in any way, shape, or form, so you should not be racist. You're a brown person. You're still a person of color. What are you racist for? Right? treating people like dirt. Only gives hours to the people that he wants to, right? And then neglects the Spaniards and the Caymanians. Don't want to give no time to the Jamaicans that are there. If you dare to complain, then they turn around and cut your hours so significantly that forget the little $1,000 that you're making, all of a sudden you're making nothing. They'll give you 2 to 4 days off immediately. Things are hard enough out there when you're hustling for your little dollar, right? To be taking home $1,000 when you're working full time and then somebody cut your hours so you're not there to make any kind of money? No. That can't work. Somebody say he's racist against black people, but he better shape up. He not far off. You one little shade up, honey child. That don't make you nobody special. Make sure you know. So, for the record, Mr. Sunil Mala, get it together. Housekeeping supervisor, we have our eyes on you. At WORC, please, in your little black notebook, write down his name. Shall I spell it for you? SUNILMALLA. Get it. Okay? He's coming here treating Caymanians like dirt. Y'all need to wake up. I don't care who he is. Nepal, I don't care if he came from Timbuktu. You're not going to come to the Cayman Islands and treat people subhuman. Maybe in Nepal, that kind of behavior is tolerated. Not here. How can this man bring everybody but the friggin' dog from Nepal to get them working? And guess what? More coming. More family members are slated to come. Huh? Y'all don't think I know what's going on? He not finished yet because this is such a good gig for them. Who else he bringing? I'm trying to remember. Who else is he bringing again? Somebody else, some other family member. They were overheard talking about it. Shame on you, Sunil. Shame on you. But you know what? Dumpy know who to frighten. You can only do what we allow you to come to this country and do. That's the truth. And so who is the bigger jackass of the day if it's not Caymanians, if it's not the Caymanian system that allows us to go unchecked, allows Tillies to do all this kind of foolishness? As somebody just said in the comment section, they should be shut down. All these infractions and they're still able to operate? Not paying your bills, not paying your staff, not paying pension, planning infractions where planning has to come and tell you to take down containers that you had no permission to put there. These people are running by the seat of their pants, doing whatever they want. Anywhere else in the world, I dare say, well, maybe there's some countries that have a lot more corruption. They would have been shut down a long time ago. This is ridiculous. Now, housekeeping is a hot mess because then we also have her in the mix. Jimena Garcia Urbina come here a couple months ago by way of the UK, but she's from Ecuador. And somebody must have told her that the baby Jesus appointed her to be his right-hand woman. She's supposed to be the new manager of housekeeping. They better check her work permit title. Yeah? Because like I said, they come here and they be lying to immigration about what they're actually going to be doing. Manager of housekeeping, really? This is what staff said about her. She said about her, she's very rude and very disrespectful. Calling people names. Where, excuse me? Where on earth do these people live? Where did they come from? This is what you did back in the UK? You could go around calling people names in whatever establishment you were doing there? Like, seriously? Are you crazy? Good morning, caller.
Hi, Sandy. Good morning. It's Noel here. How are you?
Hey, not bad. How you doing?
Not bad myself. Listen, this lady that you're now discussing, I've had my interactions with her because she's rude, she's disrespectful, she has no manners, she treats the staff and talks to them as if they're dogs.
Mm-hmm.
She goes and she demands them to leave the canteen and go to work. Nobody wants to go to work early because she puts them to work and it doesn't get paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
This is stuff that I personally know. I personally wrote a 5-page complaint against her with my interaction with her because of my spouse. And I dared her to fire him because she got to have a good reason. So now what she starts to do is cut his hours, and I went back after them again because that's their motto. If you stand up for your right, they cut your hours. They cut you down so bad that it's not even worthwhile going to work. And, you know, she says she's going to get rid of the Caymanians because we're lazy and all these other things. She just only been here a month on a temporary work permit. Now, I understand that
she's gone 2 months now.
Work have to do their investigation or whatever have you.
Yeah.
But how many good Caymanians have to stay there or be fired and work under these conditions? Now, I know I spoke to some people yesterday, Christians, that have made arrangements with the previous manager that they wouldn't work on a Sunday or a Saturday because of their religion. It has been agreed and put in their files. She come and says she don't care. She's now here to enforce, and if they don't like it, they can get out and don't come back. This is her attitude. She does not realize she is not a Caymanian. You know? And then the other supervisors along with her that are married to Caymanians just recently believe that because they have an RERC that they're safe. They are not. An RERC isn't a right, it's a privilege. And the same way they enjoy writing people up and giving them bad evaluations and stuff, they can be written up to and send letters to the deputy governor's office where they have to go to apply for acknowledgement and whatever else they need to become Caymanians. People, put pen to paper. Do not be afraid. Because this woman, she needs to go back from where she came from. I laid a complaint to the financial controller, Gordon, about her behavior and told him I was going to write immigration. He said, there's no need to go there. I said, we're already past that stage. She is rude. When you can look at people and tell them that they must man up and learn to do things for themselves, and she not discussing nothing on the outside because I don't work for Palm Heights and this. She had no idea who she was playing with. And I told her, you don't know who you're messing with. If you don't know who you're messing with, Google me. Because she's rude. And then she went and told the supervisor, which is the guy who had a figure for me, that she wanted to get rid of him. And I said, you know what? Find a good excuse. Show up for work every day on time. Never got written up. Do their jobs to 100%. No written warnings. What are you going to fire them for? You know, it's just like the lady that she wanted her to go on her knees and scrub a floor.
Yes, I get into that here in a minute. I pulled those videos. Don't worry, they coming.
Who is she?
They coming. Totally disrespectful.
The Virgin Mary?
Wow.
No.
Doubt
It's
that.
time that Palm Heights staff stand up for their rights. I know they're scared of losing their job, but unless they pull together, this is not going to end. And they're supposed to be having a meeting this morning, and I've advised all of them, whatever decisions that are being made, get it in writing and don't leave or begin work until they get it in writing. These people cannot be trusted. Simon Matthew and what her name is, Gabrielle, should be ashamed of themselves. They walk up and down this hotel with their head held high like they're some big-ass celebrity, yet they're treating the staff like dirt. It needs to stop, son. It needs to stop. And today is the day when it all needs to come to a halt. So I'm telling all the employees out there, stand up for your rights. You all have rights, not just because you're on a work permit. Does not mean you have to be trampled on. Or if you're a Caymanian, don't let it happen. And another thing that they intend on doing, I don't know if you know this, but I'm going to tell you. They will fire you, then they'll bring you into the office and force you to sign a resignation letter, which means you forfeit all of your severance pay and everything because you quit. Not them firing you. And I'm not asking, I'm telling you because I've seen the documentation. This same lady here has refused. I got her on video saying she's not giving people their evaluations because it's company policy and she's not giving it to them. They are entitled to it.
Wow.
People have been hired as what they call night cleaners, been thrown into the laundry as laundry attendants, and when they turn around and say they don't want to be there anymore, the supervisor there gives such a bad evaluation that when it go back to her, she fires them. Now, how can you take an evaluation from the laundry when you're hired for something else and use that to dismiss someone? You cannot. And then they give a release letter saying that they have no objections of this person being employed anywhere else in the Cayman Islands. Who the hell is Chile? It is time it stopped now. Honestly, these people are suffering. They have cut the staff down so badly. One person to do 6 rooms if she want the rooms done in less than an hour. I mean, I don't know. It's just your show on this could go on for the rest of the week.
Lord Jesus.
But I'm going to stick a pin there and leave it there for somebody else.
Thank you, my dear. 936-2626. So Jimena del Rocio Garcia, also known as, they got more than one name, honey chair. Also known as Jimena Garcia Urbina. Either name, same young lady that got an attitude to boot and being rude to people. She lucky that she not back up on the right one yet. Because I tell you what, may that have been a good East Ender, and they would have given her something to go home and talk about. You see, these people are really, really pushing the limits, right? And nothing is going to be done about it until one of Caymanian finally loses control and box somebody down up in Palm Heights, and then you're going to hear the worst of it. Oh, Caymanians, this and that, and oh, she's been assaulted, yada, yada, yada. Listen, they're pushing people. Nobody advocates this kind of behavior. This is absolutely ridiculous. But it's being allowed to go on. Nothing is being done. All right, WRC claimed that they're investigating. You better step up your investigation because all the evidence is there. Talk to the staff. Pull people in. It can't be that difficult. They're having a staff meeting this morning after the staff striked on Friday. You know what it takes for people to go on strike in this country? Y'all should know. It takes a lot. Right? Jerry Ann says, I worked there, was talking about them long time ago. Gordon lies. I remember you, Jerry Ann. Speak up now. They never posted the grats, and I was always asking why. They were saying Caymanians are trouble. Really? Caymanians are trouble? The ones who causing the trouble are those of you who are refusing to follow the laws. She says DPL knows about them and did nothing. Hello. I have been receiving complaints about Palm Heights since COVID. That was 3 years ago. So if I know about complaints from 3 years ago, and along the same lines, why has nothing been done yet? How can y'all still be investigating? How long does a damn investigation take? You could have carried out a murder investigation by now, and it wouldn't take this long. Seriously. Ridiculous. Well, guess what? We've had enough. I, for one, am tired and sick of hearing all of the complaints. And so, yes, we're here to expose them this morning. So we have Sunil and Jimena, both terrors, going around calling people lazy, turtles, all kind of derogatory names. Like I said, woman, I don't know where you came from and what professional hotel environment you worked in that Tilly's would hire you. Makes me really, really question. Yeah? That you could speak to people in such a degrading way and think that this is acceptable and this is okay? Not on my watch, huh? No, ma'am. This is not how you do it. And these are same people when you go up in there won't be kissing you behind. Now I tell them, don't invite me to places like this. I'm not patronizing these people. Right? Oh, you're Miss Sandy from Maud Road. Get away from me. Because when I think about how you treat people, how you discriminate, you mistreat people of all colors and creeds, but particular people of color in this country, me and you gonna have a problem. Don't be come trying to talk to me, honey child, because I'm not your friend. Let me be very, very clear. But Tilly's having so many problems, I'm wondering how they're able to financially continue to operate. Because guess what? You see this here right now? You see what that is? For the past week, They have had a generator running because the talk at the facility is they can't even afford to pay their CUC bill. Lord Jesus. Well, all I can tell you, honey child, is we have the photos of the generator. We have videos of the generator. And I can tell you it's there pumping for the past week. Can't pay your bills? Not gonna be that CUC? That can't be right. But here's the wiring. Okay, here's the generator. Let me bring in the video so y'all can hear it running. Because next thing you'll know, they'll claim that don't go so. Well, that's the alleged reason why their generator has been running for a week. Well, if that's not the reason, then you do need to explain to people why you're wasting money running a generator. Huh? See the generator here? Hold on now. Bringing it to you. Generator running hot for the past week. I'll read some of your comments in just a bit. I'm seeing them come in. Thank you. Noelle says she was hired from a hotel from Dubai. Oh, I get it. So she's used to mistreating people because, Dubai, for all the glory and all the richness, when you work in these hotels and stuff like this, and construction workers, they have people living in the streets in certain sections of Dubai. They just pretty up the front part of it. People are committing suicide. One of the highest suicide rates in the world is in Dubai because they treat their foreign workers so horribly. The thing that they do by dozens every single week, every single month, just killing each other. So you think that you can bring that same stinking attitude to the Cayman Islands? Well, I beg to differ. Jimena, you don't bring it here. As a matter of fact, I don't even know why they need you as a manager of housekeeping. You can't find a Caymanian for that job? I don't believe that. But you know what they do? They file 13 in Caymanian applications. That means it goes in a shredder. Somebody asking, where is Kenneth Bryan in this? Well, Kenneth Bryan is a tourism minister, but in all fairness to him, who is the minister in charge of labor? Where is Minister John? He's the one who's in charge of labor. Let me remind him, he partially got elected because he claimed, say, no more work permits, which we all knew that was hogwash. But still, Dwayne Seymour, surely you've heard the complaints, if I have. So where are you? Strikes happening in this country. Where are you? Right? It's a fair question. No, sir. Oh, I don't know if she got fired from the hotel, the Dubai hotel or not. But one thing I know for sure, she's come here with the wrong frigging attitude. Completely wrong attitude. Let's read what some people are saying about her in the situation at Palm Heights. Here's another one. Good afternoon. I'm a previous employee who resigned on July 28th, 2023, because of this lady, Jimena Garcia, who claims that she's a manager, but is a supervisor, not a manager. WORC, like I said, sort yourselves out, right? If she's going around claiming to be a manager and is being treated as a manager, but only has a work permit for supervisor, you know what? That's against the law. She's working outside the terms of her work permit, and y'all need to haul in Palm Heights and take their behind the court. They're past the stage of administrative fines now. They need to be dealt with. All right, the person goes on. I have proof for that being said. Send through your proof, honey child. You can reach me at multiple numbers, 936-2626. That's the Bobo number. My personal number, everybody in Cayman has it. Take it, 324-1612. Send me your proof because WORC needs every bit of it. This Gabby, whatever her name is, who owns this facility, she needs to be gone. I'm sorry, but this is beyond repair as far as I'm concerned. This is clearly people who have no regard for the laws of this country. I can say that this lady is racist, and they came from the UK treating employees at Palm Heights like slaves, talking to us in a disrespectful manner. And when we retaliate by standing up for ourselves, she forcefully threatened us to sign the write-up sheet or she will fire us. Her attitudes and behavior is not acceptable here in Cayman. Immigration should take immediate action towards her. July 28th, which was our payday, she cut my hours by 15 hours as she was targeting me for the moment. She got there. I was sent home July 10th for a small bleach spot on my uniform. I was then off from July the 11th through the 12th, went back to work on July 13th, entered the office because my phone was dead. This lady came right up in my face, and at that moment, I felt threatened, so I exited the office, and then she came out of the office in the hallway with her phone on, recording, screaming, "Stop shouting at me, stop shouting at me." And the repeatedly shouting while recording, playing victim, while all the employees was on the first floor. And saw as witness that I was not shouting at her. The next morning, July 14th, she wrote me up for misconduct and inappropriate uniform that I was wearing before she got there. This lady is very light, and management is protecting her and not letting employees' voices be heard. There's no HR at Palm Heights Hotel or policy. Jimena Garcia even go in one of the meetings stating that on my contract, I'm only responsible for 40 employees, and the remaining 20, that's not on my contract. I will be firing one by one because I'm not getting paid for it. Wow. She's very evil and needs to leave the island ASAP. Immigration needs to cancel her permit because now I'm out of a job because of she. I have videos and recordings. She's sending me to clean the 6th floor of the hotel, which is considered as hard labor due to the fact that she sent me there to clean wasn't my area of work. This lady Jimena wanted me to go down on my knees with a bucket and a scrubbing brush in my uniform to clean the whole floor. Wow. We got some video here, folks, where she, the same lady, is sharing her experiences. Hold on.
Here you can see the lady, the power wash, but because for me, I am black, so that's the reason why she wanted me to go down on my knees and scrub the floor, all because I am black and the person is of a different complexion. Now this is the 6th floor that she wanted me to go down on my knees and clean. And when I asked her what about mopping, she said no, she want me to go down on my knee with the washing brush and a pan and scrub the wall floor. So what is the difference with me asking if I can mop and this lady who is power washing the floor? This is the whole 6th floor that she wanted me to scrub on my knees.
Oh gosh, my apologies. Forgot to turn my mic on. Oh my goodness, so sorry. I had a little call during the show. I was saying that, you know, this hotel really is engaging in behavior that is just ridiculous, right? Telling people to get down on their knees to scrub the floor is not something that I would even do in my house, much less in a facility like this. All these accolades, the Telegraph, the Wall Street Journal talking foolishness about, oh, Cayman, the Caribbean's most talked about hotel is a game changer for Grand Cayman. Really? Is it really a game changer? It's a game changer in the wrong kind of way, if you ask me. Right? Are these people aware of what it is that this hotel has been up to? Do they even care? Or is it all about show and clout and outward appearances? Because if that's what it's all about, we can start to give y'all a dose of the cold, hard truth. We're going to contact the Telegraph. We're going to contact the Wall Street Journal and say, oh, notice with interest your article of December of 2022 about this hotel. Do you know what they're really all about? Do you know how they're not paying staff and how they're treating staff and how they're not paying their bills? Generator running for the past week. Do y'all know any of these things? They're a game changer, all right. The question is, what kind of game changer? Let's watch another video. So here's the woman now. All right. Here we go. All right. So she's demonstrating.
Here you can see the lady, yeah, power wash.
Power washing.
But because for me, I am black, so that's the reason why she wanted me to.
So the other woman who comes afterwards and does it, right? She's not black, apparently. You hear the Jamaican lady saying she was instructed by Jimena to get on her knees with a scrub brush and scrub the entire 6th floor. The other lady is able to do it with a machine and a power washer. Why? Come on now. This is ridiculous. This. My mind is like blown. This is allowed to happen in 2023. We have elected officials who are not saying, nothing. WRC claims they're investigating. We want to know how long the investigation is going to take, right? Letters going in about Jimena. Every single one of you that have contacted me and have sent stuff, you have got to file a complaint against her by WORC. Send it in. Okay? This is exactly what needs to happen. Y'all need to get it together. Somebody said she needs a dose of what that worker in Jamaica did to the lady who decided to spit in her face and throw drink at her. Somebody needed to box her down. Well, you know what? At this rate, I don't advocate any violence, but when you keep pushing people and you get what the duck get. Well, like I said, don't y'all get yourselves in trouble. Try to follow the process. The process is slow and arduous and takes forever. And it half the time it still don't work out. But still, you do your part. Don't ruin your reputation. You don't end up in court. You don't end up before no judge for this kind of foolishness. But yeah, she's definitely trying people. There's no two ways about it. I'm really shocked that people could come here in less than a month and going on like this. I'm like, who told you that this is the Cayman Islands, that you can come here like you own the place? That's what I want to know. This is the attitude that has me shocked. Where's that memo? Who told you, Jimena and Sunil, that you can come here and act a fool like how y'all have been acting and treating people like this? Y'all must be crazy. You certainly couldn't do it in Ecuador Somebody would have fixed your backside long time ago if this was your own country. Some more complaints. Noel has been posting this on his STTB page. As shown in the photograph, the housekeeping staff went on strike on Friday after receiving their pay and was unhappy about their salary and gratuities. You have a picture of the strike, Noel? Send it to me. On discussion, unlawful dismissal of many employees who have stood up for their rights, forcing staff members to work and not take breaks or lunch at the appropriate times. Oh, yes. Let's not forget that. Further infractions and breaches of the labor law. Telling staff that when you come into work in the mornings, you must eat before you get there and you're not allowed to take a break or eat for the remainder of the time that you're there. No back of office, no place you can go and have a lunch. They're not feeding you and you can't buy it on site either. Wow. Y'all really know how to treat. I mean, imagine they're treating staff like this and they think that they're going to get good work out of these people. They're lucky that when a staff member is not retaliated and put some cowitch in the bed sheets of Justin Bieber to show him a lesson and send a clear message to the hotel. Put cowitch on every single bed. They're lucky that they're not dealing with some hardcore EastEnders, because that's exactly what would happen. I can tell you that. They wouldn't be playing around with you fools. On more than one occasion, they've had to stand up and demonstrate that they'll knock you down if you come wrong at them. Refusing to give staff members copies of their evaluations or written warnings, informing them it's company policy that documents cannot be given. That's ridiculous. By law, you're entitled to a copy. Forcing staff members to work on religious days, which they've already gotten clearance for. And by the way, Jimena and Sunil, in case you missed the memo, there's actually court cases that have upheld a person's right to not have to work if it's agreed between the parties. So if you hire someone, you say, yes, I'm Seventh-day Adventist and I can't work on a Saturday. You can't renege on that and you can't just go back on that because you feel like it. This is ridiculous. Non-payment of pensions, DLP. This should be easy. Go call CJ Britke right now. Ask for the statement when pension payments were made. Right? And you'll see they've been taking pension money from their workers and not paying it. That's theft. It's against the law. Work permit breaches, poor scheduling, non-payment of gratuities. The list goes on and on and on about this so-called multi-million-dollar boutique hotel that is trying to attract celebrity guests on a regular basis. They clearly have nothing called shame about them. And you know what? This is like the equivalent to me of blood diamonds, right? Every single person that decides to go and stay there, y'all should be ashamed of yourself because you're only supporting the worst of the worst in this country. People sending more money. Here you know. What is this one? This is a letter from the architects. Oh wow. They don't follow no laws. What a hot mess. I tell you. All right, folks. Someone said the last thing I heard was a Jamaican lady talking about, oh yes. What about the new manager for housekeeping, Miss Jimena del Rocio Garcia? Okay, good. You beat me to it. We're on top of it, honey child. Okay. All right, folks. This is really quite an unfortunate situation. This person says you have to blame the employer as well, not just the people that they've hired. So, really, really egregious. Like I said, I mean, I'm blaming the workers. So somebody says, I get my pay last week, Friday. I had my overtime. I worked 12 days out of the 2 weeks. I had worked hard night shift, and this is what I got paid. I don't know what they're doing with the money because they're not paying us. It's been going on for a long time now. So this person got paid 900 and I'm not going to say the exact amount. Let's just say $900 and change US dollars for 2 weeks for working 82 hours plus overtime, Wow. And you still only taking home $900 US? This is ridiculous. You can't even get an apartment in Cayman, a decent apartment for $900. Oh my God. Miss Darlene says these poor people are suffering. Everyone needs to leave and bring a lawsuit against the company. I say y'all need to all walk off the job and then see what they're going to do. And immigration better not grant any work permits. Good morning, caller.
Hi, Sandy. Sorry, me again. Listen, this is how this thing works. Here's how it goes. They will force you to work overtime and tell you if you don't work overtime, then they end up cutting your hours. You end up working overtime. They're thinking that you're getting hours, and then what they do, the following schedule, they'll give you 2 to 3 days off and take away the overtime you work. So in realistic, you're just being slaved to do what they want you to do, and then they take the hours back. So you're not making any additional money, and you're just tired from working an extra 5 or 6 hours per day.
Wow.
It is silly. It is silly. It's ridiculous.
So crazy.
So the
oh my God.
Lying, because that's why I say to people, if you work overtime to someone, you work overtime, you expect to be paid for it. Not for them to turn around and give you 3 days off and take away the little extra time that you have to make your salary drop beneath what you've worked for. It's slavery.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much, caller.
You're welcome.
Well, to say that we've only touched the tip of the iceberg here on Palm Heights is probably an understatement. But folks, something has got to be done. That much is clear. Tracy says this is sad and scary, the fact that these are local people being treated like this. And then you wonder why Caymanians don't want to work in hospitality industry run by expats. There's no excuse to treat anyone this way. A CEO and a janitor deserve respect. They are people. Shaking my head. Jim says made to pay all staff and bills and then pay the staff their severance. Third, revoke their business license and fining and send them off. Marshall says take the steak dinners and still expose them. Listen. Johan says a free 5-star weekend with everything comp. No, thank you. Would not stay there for no amount of comping in the world. Clay says no more work permits for such people. Aliano says you hit the nail on the head. It came an issue and we a change and a mindset and take control. Magdalene, good morning. Says maybe it's some Caymanian agency that's bringing these workers in and are sending them to Tilly's. These temp work permits need to stop. Well, there definitely needs to be better scrutiny of them. Good morning, Paul. Joining us from Bermuda. Paul says, good morning, CMR and Sandra. What a total mess, honey child. Trust and believe. El Rey says, boy, sounds like these people need to go ASAP or get a serious attitude change. Sonita, good morning, says, blame it on the government and WRC. They're the ones that are desperate for permit revenue to run the government. Even a rat, a cat, a dog can get a work permit these days. Jerry Ann sharing her own experience. El Rey says an employment law constructive dismissal, also called constructive discharge or constructive termination, occurs when an employee resigns as a result of the employer creating a hostile work environment. Since the resignation was not truly voluntary, it is in fact a termination. That's right. So when they do things like cut your hours and that forces you to leave, that is in employment law what is called constructive dismissal. And you can take them to court for it, believe me you. And it sounds like y'all have more than a fair case that you can build here. So Tracy talks about her own experiences. Says, people are disrespectful. They're not a part of their culture. If you're not a part of their culture, you're treated differently. This is what cultivates racism. This has to stop. Being in any country is a privilege denied by many and should be treated as such. Aquina, good morning, says if any expats work for this company and are too scared to complain, I'm more than happy to be their mouthpiece. I'm a Cayman, and I promise they can't do nothing to me. Well, they can't do anything to me either. Like I said, what are they going to do? Tell me I can't come and stay there? Well, I don't want to stay there. Like I said, I don't need to eat at your restaurant. I don't need any of that. I would not support this type of business under any circumstances. Remember during COVID, when they had their Love Friday brunches, even Noel was there supporting them and posting good things about Tilly's. Boy, I'm sure you regret that now, because now you see the type of company they really are. They never had me fooled, honey child, because like I said, for 3 years, over 3 years, I've been receiving complaints about them. And I was like, the vibe's just not there that these are good people. Jim says someone from WRC needs to go and sit in on the staff meeting that they're scheduled to have and videotape it. Well, I'm hoping someone there will videotape it for them. Miss Gloria, good morning. She says, well, I see our tourism policy is going to go down because I've met many stayover tourists who have said to me why they cannot see a staff member with the name tag Caymanian. RD says, Sandra, the sad reality is WRC will despise you for exposing stuff that they should be dealing with instead of dealing with the issue. Well, they'll be in a hotter mess. KK says, this is where all the celebrities go, only if those same people knew how they treat their own staff. I have to wonder. And by the way, as a side observation, has anybody noticed that all the people that are coming here breaking our laws as it relates to the smoking of a particular substance, drugs, are all coming to stay at Palm Heights? Is it just a coincidence? Gigi Hadid and the performer the other day that came for Pride Week or whatever it was, Pride Weekend, and others. So it looks like, I don't know, Palm Heights is telling them, oh, bring your own stuff, bring your own goods, whatever, or we don't care about that stuff. But I have certainly made the observation that a few people who've been arrested for drug-related offenses are coming here to stay at that particular facility. I'm just saying. Take it for what it's worth. Sonita says, Caymanians need to fight to survive in Cayman. Jerian says, they did me something saying that they did me the same thing, saying that I resigned. I went to DPL and they asked Gordon and he confessed that it was untrue. And DPL still didn't do anything about it and was even trying to get me to go back after that. I've got the emails. Wow. So they constructively dismiss you, which means that they need to pay up when they do that. That's unlawful termination. And DLP is trying to tell you to go back and take the job back. Did you ever get paid, Jerian? That's all I need to know. Did you make them pay you? Don't let these people hoodwink you, folks. Everton says it costs more to run a generator on a daily basis than pay a utility bill. Well, it depends on how much the utility bill is, Everton. Because if they've not paid their utility bill in months and months and months, and they've got a $50,000 bill and they can't afford to pay it, they might have no choice but to run the generator. Johan says the regulatory agencies in Cayman may need to investigate these allegations. May? There's no may about it. They definitely need to. And follow the process. No need for CMR to blow up the issue with the international media, which will give Cayman a bad name. Trust the process. No. Johan, you need to be drinking something else in the mornings. No, we need to blow it up. And we need to show everybody all over the world who's been giving Palm Heights all kind of accolades that these people are actually horrible people. You would think that the Cayman Islands government and the regulatory agencies and the process can do anything to them that bad press will not do more effectively. You've got to be kidding me. Caller, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy. You can I say, you suck it to them. But come I tell you something. I know two very well Spanish speaking, could hardly speak English, that came on a Saturday and is to work on a Monday. Now, how are they going to advertise Cayman, sell Cayman as a tourist destination, and don't know anything about Cayman. And guess what? Their promise or their contract say, now these work permits are given, are sent to them before they reach here, because no airline, Cayman Airways is number one on that, would board them if they can't see a copy of a work permit where they're going to work. But the thing is, they promise them, let's say, $6 CI per hour. And then they end up paying them $4 US per hour. They're getting away with it. But what are we Caymanians? And most of their staff are foreigners, are people that it don't look like they can, they're afraid to go back to immigration and make a rumpus. This island, we need our Caymanians to do something about all of this, because we've been taken away by cheap labor, staying in dumpy places because they can't afford anything else. And then this place is going to be like any other place. And not going to be. Some places are. What are we going to do about it? It's right now, if somebody said to me, I have 3 or 4 Caymanians that are going to the immigration or going there and make a rumpus, I'll go. I'll be the first one to go. By the way, my name is Charlene.
Yes, ma'am.
Any time that anybody want to do anything like that, because this is my little island. We are clean. Most of us are clean people, but some of our younger ones are doing the same thing that the foreign people, the mess that they left behind, and they could come here and mess this up because they don't know any better. So we have to do something about this. Immigration is number 1. The government is number 2. And the people will follow. Or we threaten government, immigration, anything to expose what's really, really going on until they give the staff what is left over, and God only knows that it may even come from some of the guests, and they give them as lunch, or they pay them so badly that they feel good if they get a lunch or a breakfast or anything like that, because they have nothing to buy anything with far is salary is concerned. But we're doing nothing. We're talking about it all the time. Government hasn't paid no attention. None of them has paid any attention on what's going on. But yet we're constantly bragging about tourism. But we're going to get it ruined for us. Overpriced stuff, overpriced places to stay. Places are badly maintained, sanitized, or any place that is decent is overpriced. Overpriced, and this is the what you call off season now. Then it picks up again in November. And then we can brag about what tourism we have. What so see if we not gonna soon be out of that race altogether? What so see? I hope it don't happen, but we need to do something about it. We as Caymanians need to do something about it. These people are running us over with the biggest bottle of crap that you can hear about.
Thank you,
anyway,
caller.
Sandy.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yes. We have another caller in the line. Caller, you're on air. Good morning.
Sorry. What's wrong with me on the phone now?
Hello, caller. Caller, you're live on air. Hello. Hello. All right. Let's read a few more messages. And we do have a guest who's been patiently waiting to join us for our next segment, which is going to be equally, if not even more, shocking. But let me just show you all now. What a hot mess. So this person says, yes. Okay. So, okay. Yep. So people sending proof of where they say I did not resign from the position. When one resigns from a position, there should be something in writing. Can you please provide that written proof? I was employed when COVID-19 started. At that time, all the housekeeping staff were sent home and told they'd be contacted and when to return. The housekeeping manager was Patricia then, and I never received a call back from anyone at Palm Heights. Did not receive any notice until today about my employment, as I inquired to the official HR email several times, but no answers. I'm seeking any compensation of any sort from Palm Heights. I'm not seeking. I still have the uniforms and keys that I would like to return at some point. The information is from my application submitted to the Department of Tourism, and the information provided should be truthful and accurate. And in this case, it is not true. If you've terminated my employment, please state the facts. It's very important I have the facts to help my application move forward. And I'd rather you state terminated and not resigned. Wow. So again, this is dating back to 2021. And they're still at it. My God. Here's another one that came in. Give me one quick second. And then, like I said, we got to wrap this one up because we do have a guest who's patiently waiting to join us. So this one comes in from a listener on WhatsApp. One second here. And she says, or he, I'm not sure. This person says, morning, Sandy. The situation is deeply troubling and appalling. It's disheartening to see how we react so strongly when foreigners engage in the same behavior that our fellow Caymanians are guilty of. This pattern is evident within the government as well. Friends and family members are often favored in hiring and promotions for influential positions, resulting in nepotism. Even in customer service roles within hospitals and other government agencies, selective treatment is given, where only certain individuals receive exceptional service or extra assistance in specific situations. This issue is not recent. It has persisted for some time. As you aptly put it, duppy know who to frighten. Foreigners often seem to evade consequences due to our inherent tendency to believe that the grass is always greener on their side. As you mentioned, it often takes a Caymanian or to take matters into their own hands and resort to physical confrontation before any action is taken. Unfortunately, the foundation built on Caymanians for Caymanians has been fractured, and this behavior is noticed by foreigners who then mimic it. Moreover, there's a pressing need for increased enforcement and oversight within these companies. The process of rebuilding this foundation must commence at the highest levels. It is disheartening to witness the very same Caymanians who are elected into position of power and have the ability to enact meaningful changes in the lives of their fellow Caymanians remain inactive and indifferent, seemingly washing their hands of any responsibility. Wow. Caller, good morning.
Hi, good morning. I kind of was making breakfast and getting ready for work when I heard all of this, and I am utterly disgusted, but not surprised. It's a crying shame because the tourism industry is and was built on the backbone of Caymanian. That's a fact. People didn't come here to see Jamaicans, Ecuadorians, Indians, Filipinos. That's not why they came here. But that's the first-hand guest experience that guests are currently having. As it relates to Palm Heights specifically, I don't know if you recall, we're both in a very famous Facebook group, I won't name it, but there were comments posted during COVID and right as we were coming out, before the hotel had were back in the swing of accepting death, speaking to their racist behavior, particularly toward Caymanian guests. Since that hotel has changed, I should say not the physical property, but the actual operation has changed ownership. I have patroned that place once for a private event, and I don't care unless it's the second coming of Christ, I will not be going back. And we have the buying power, we have the purchasing power. My dad always says, where bones aren't provided, dogs aren't invited. I don't know how many times does an organization have to, by word, by deed, by action, have to exclude Caymanians and by extension our Caribbean counterparts. But I'm going to speak about Caymanians because we have the right to employment in this country. Yes, the right. But I like to say that, but we have the right to be employed in this country. And we also, by extension, should have the largest purchasing power. That's not the case, right? But if we did what they did, we would come ahead a lot quicker. But we are so busy cutting down and tearing down each other that they see us doing it, it makes it okay for them to do it. We will sit with them to tear down each other. I don't know if we're paying attention. They don't sit with us and tear their friends down. They do not. They do not. I have one position when it comes to conversations that are what I like to call ticklish. Me and no foreigner having no conversation about the worst Caymanian. None. I'm not making it okay for somebody else to come and have a diatribe about people like me. And you will hear the conversation often, oh, well, but I'm Caymanian. Oh, all Caymanians are, but I'm Caymanian and I'm not like that. Oh, you're different. Well, what makes me different? What makes me different? Oh, Sandra, you're different. No, I'm not talking about your kind. Well, what's my kind? What's my kind? Only to say my grandmother works in housekeeping, frankly, all of her life, all of my life. The only job she's ever had was a housekeeper. My grandfather is a boat captain and quite successful. I believe both of them, might I add, raised 6 children and built a business and a proper home and all of those things. And this is the 50s, 60s, 70s, up until the early 90s. They were able to do that with what they were earning then. Yet we are 50 years ahead, but we're worse off. We're worse off. And the problem is, and nobody likes to say it, our dependence on work permit revenue, or the illusion that we have created that we depend on the work permit revenue. Because the work permit revenue, in actuality, in my opinion, when I look through the fees, yes, in math, it adds up. When you look through the fees, those lower tier positions tend to be lower tier work permit fees. So all we're actually doing is overwhelming the society, overwhelming the country, overwhelming infrastructure, overwhelming the food, the food situation with poverty, importing cheap labor. These people, and I don't mean to be demeaning or derogatory, I'm stating the absolute fact. These people that we bring in here, our minimum wage that people say is so unacceptable. Sometimes that hourly wage is equivalent to what they would earn for their month in their own country. Some of them are coming from countries, they live in conditions that we would not be able to die in. I'm not saying that to be derogatory. I'm saying it because it's true. Talk about third world countries. That's what we are ending up with. We're not attracting the highest quality of labor. We're not attracting the highest quality of people. We're no longer attracting the higher caliber of people. And yes, I'm speaking to education. We're not attracting that. We are attracting the lowest wage and the lowest incomes of earners. That's what we're attracting. We are creating a welfare state. Again, because what we're doing is, well, a Caymanian can afford to work for $6 an hour. The ones that are able to do so, they do so and are pushed out of their work by similar tactics, become a burden to the MAU society. In all factual, I don't believe that anybody wants to go stand in line and beg the government for a handout. I don't believe that. Caymanians are proud people. I don't believe that. But when you're forced and backed into a corner, you have no option. You have no option. People are going to do what they need to do to feed themselves and their family. And it's a shame and shame on the government for this situation to be going on as long as it has, for nobody to get up and just say, okay, the buck stops here. The buck stops here. There will be no more work permits granted. Instead, what have we done? Instead of proper scrutiny for work permits, what do we do? We've turned it into an administrative process, and we're now rubber stamping everything. We're rubber stamping everything. Just just pay attention. You took out a permit for a domestic helper 2 weeks ago. You brought them here. 2 weeks ago, you told the immigration that you needed that person. This is more than I'm just trying to help someone, because you have to look at the long-term effects of this. It's these minimum wage workers that are creating dilapidated housing. It's these minimum wage workers that are actually driving up the cost of living, believe it or not. They are creating more issues because, well, they got to cut corners. They got to do unsavory things like prostitution, like stealing. This is not me saying that Caymanians aren't engaging in that, It's not me saying that. Caymanians are, in some instances I know of, are engaging in it because they want to, but in other instances are engaging in it because they feel like they don't have an option. These minimum wage workers are doing it because they somehow believe that living here and living in less than conditions, even where they come from, is better than being where they are, because somehow, there's a pot of gold that's going to erupt out of, I don't know, the middle of West Bay Road, wherever there isn't a bridge, because I'm sure we'll soon have another one going up. Somewhere on West Bay Road, somewhere in the middle, we're going to have a pot of gold erupt, or oil or something, and by God, they have to be here to take advantage of it. I am so sick of people coming here and taking more than they give to this country. Displacing Caymanians without any concern for Caymanians. And we just have, just like that letter said, the same people that we elect to look after us and to create policy and to create change that is supposed to create better for Caymanians. This is Cayman. The U.S. don't make laws in the best interest of foreigners. But we do it here.
Leave me there, caller. Appreciate it.
All right. You have a good day.
Thank you, my dear. This is undoubtedly a conversation, folks, that we will continue. I mean, we can't talk about Palm Heights once because their issues are so massive. I don't see anything being resolved anytime soon. In the final analysis, I just want to say to the staff that you have got to stand up for yourselves. I will help where I can, folks. I will always assist where I can. But if you're not sharing your stories, if you're not providing documentary evidence to the various agencies the regulatory agencies, as Johan says, that are supposed to be doing their job, there will be very limited, positive outcome from this situation. They will continue business as usual. They will continue to get work permits. There's so many issues here, folks, that need to be addressed surrounding Palm Heights. But it starts with the staff. I'm glad that you guys decided to go and strike on Friday. It does begin with you. Yeah? But it can't end there. We've got to continue this fight. Aquina, she said she would be willing to stand up for the workers. I appreciate that. I think we all have to take a stance against this. Ebony, thank you for your comment. She said that she walked off the job a month and a half ago. She was so upset, but thinking that she was the only one. I never pushed it to the labor board, even though I had people encouraging me to do so and tell my story. They aren't even set up properly. I was hired for water sports, but because the department isn't even a department in itself, they worked me between two departments. And every week, the so-called water sports manager, Gabrielle, made up new rules. Verbally, that's why I argued with her the day that I think quit was how it ended. And they were mad at me. I was like one of the only Caymanians working pool and beach and water sports. And they were so mad. I was sending tourists off the premise to local businesses to explore. There's a big part of our tourism that we have to share. I feel like they targeted me, especially Gabrielle. She's from Mexico, and feel like she's God gifts to the earth. She gets paid and doesn't even work most of the time. She's on her computer taking courses. And some of those same courses, they could have paid a Caymanian to do, since clearly the woman didn't know before she got the job. Wow. Ebony, it's not too late. You can still send in your complaint to the respective agencies, and I would encourage you to please do that. One final call. I'm going to ask you to make it brief because we do have a guest who's been patiently waiting in the studio, and we want to get to that guest this morning. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, morning. I'm not gonna be too
morning.
This is good. This is good for Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
This is very good for Cayman. I'm sure that the problem at that hotel not happened overnight.
Exactly.
And that's been going on for years. And trust me, nothing not gonna be done because you know who that property for. You said it, Uncle Dar.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he owns the property, but he does not own, and he's not running the hotel. And those are two very, very different things. So,
but listen to what I'm telling you now. Mm-hmm. Listen to me tie it together. If that hotel get closed down, not gonna have no income from that hotel, right? So it gonna affect him paycheck. So that is the same thing.
I am sure that he can find somebody else to run it who's actually going to do it the right way. Dart has multiple hotels, the Kimpton, the Ritz. What's the other one that they bought closer to Georgetown? So he's got three. The Indigo's coming on board. He has 3 or 4 different hotel brands and whatever. I've never seen anything like what's happening at Tilly's, which isn't his brand. But without a doubt, if the Dart organization has to take control of that hotel, they'll find somebody else to rent it. That shouldn't be a problem. And hopefully they'll pay their bills.
You're right, but it's gonna be a little setback, but not gonna happen to that because our government is afraid of them kind of people. I mean, that's the simple truth. Mm. That's the simple truth. The people could only do so much. Them people down there now, I hope anybody from government now go down and sit like what one of your the people in the comment did. If anybody there from work and go and sit at that meeting or and the government minister can go and sit at that meeting. You remember we had a union and all that too, Remember, this is not the first hotel that happened when Mr. Markfield was trying to form a union. That was, I don't know which hotel that was, the Galleon Beach or one of them hotels down that area. That years ago he was forming a union. This kind of thing would not happen under union. But you see, these companies don't want no union in there because they want all the upper hand. And I was seeing is giving them the upper hand. So I leave it right there. The people can only do so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And protest.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, folks, let's take a commercial break. We're going to come back and welcome our guest, Nicole, into the studio. We're going to be talking about her experiences with domestic abuse. She's going to be sharing her story. And you guys might be surprised to know that her abuser is residing right here in the Cayman Islands, working on a work permit and living his best, most fabulous life.
I am Heather Bodden, MP for Savannah and a lifelong advocate for the environment. Illegal dumping is a crime, so please take civic pride in our home and put litter where it belongs. If you see someone littering, report it to the Department of Environmental Health on 949-6696.
Be a part of the solution, not the pollution. Littering is a crime punishable by a $500 fine or 6 months in prison. Brought to you by the Beautification Task Force and Ministry of Tourism and Ports.
K-Man, what if the ability to make better national healthcare decisions was on the tip of your finger? Would you take it? Because that's exactly where it is. The Ministry of Health and Wellness needs more people to do the finger prick blood measurement for the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Your participation gives us data which informs decisions that shape the nation's healthcare. Help us by saying yes to Step 3. For more information, contact the STEPS team on 936-4969 or email mhwsteps@gov.ky.
For 20 years, we've committed to helping the people of the Cayman Islands live longer, healthier, and happier lives. But healthcare and the expectations of patients are rapidly evolving, and so must we. We have made incredible clinical and technological advancements and achieved JCI accreditation, the internationally recognized gold seal of approval for patient safety and quality of care. So it's time for our image to reflect our transformation from a local hospital to a world-class healthcare authority, with a new logo that symbolizes national duty and pride, a statement that reinforces our commitment to our patients every step of the way, with colors as bold as our mission to provide the highest quality healthcare. Dynamic, professional, skilled, committed, caring. This is HSA.
Meanwhile, at the Burger King's castle. Underling, what news?
Sire, behold the fiery jalapeno cheese.
You might say it's jalapeno.
Please don't, sire. It's jalapenos with spicy cream cheese sauce and American cheese.
And it's jalapeno.
Please, sire.
Introducing the new fiery jalapeno cheese at Burger King. Plain grilled patties covered in jalapenos, spicy creamy cheese sauce, and American cheese. Available in extra long and king size for a limited time only. Grab it late at 7 Mile Beach or Red Bay. Open till midnight Thursdays and 1 a.m. Fridays and Saturdays.
It's jalapeno face.
Ocean Ridge Heights offers an amazing opportunity to own a piece of land in idyllic Cayman Brac, right on the bluff, starting from $80,000. Located in a quiet residential area with high elevation, these lots are ideal for a future home or investment property and are sure to go fast. Cayman Brac offers a laid-back lifestyle, amazing pristine diving, limestone caves, diverse flora, along with amazing wildlife. Inquire about the owner financing options so that you can secure your piece of paradise today. With only a few lots remaining, these are sure to go before you know it. Contact Crichton Properties today on 345-949-5250 or info@crichtonproperties.com.
Recover Personal Injury Attorneys, helping injured people get what they deserve. Did you know that insurance companies have lawyers that represent their interests? Before signing and accepting any settlement, know your rights. Call us today for a free consultation at 924-9999. That's 924-9999. Recover. Your personal injury attorneys are on standby to assist.
All right, folks, welcome back to the program. We're going to change gears a little bit here. Thank you so much for your calls and your comments. And that last caller definitely deserved our kaboom button. Lots of people saying that they're in agreement with pretty much everything that she had to say. So thank you so much, caller, for your contribution. We're not going to be talking about an equally important issue in this community, which is domestic violence. And it's so interesting that, you know, we've discussed this topic on numerous occasions, just up to last week, I think it was, you know, how people seem to feel sometimes very, very nonchalant about domestic violence, yet it impacts so many people, families, children in those families, and even beyond. What is even more shocking is when we have people here who are, you know, on, like I said, that domestic violence list. That's bad enough. But what's even worse is when we manage to import people who have been arrested for domestic violence and who have a history of being abusive towards their spouses, and they get very good jobs on work permits. And, you know, we put them on a pedestal and think that they're great people until they end up on the news being drunken and sloppy all over the place. And so I want to welcome Nicole to the program this morning. Good morning, Nicole. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much, first of all, for coming on the program today to talk about your personal experience. We're going to get to your story, but I think it takes a lot of courage for people to do, anyone really, to step forward and do what you're doing. So what has given you the courage to come on today and share your story?
You know, I left my abuser the better part of 4 years ago. And in that, in that time, everyone kind of thought that I had the perfect marriage. And, I had this amazing, wonderful, supportive husband that, took care of me and the children, especially when I was very ill, through difficult pregnancies and miscarriage, just all kinds of things. So, from the outside looking in, we were a very lovely couple. So when I first, left that, I found myself in a position of, now that I've left, now that I've had the strength to leave, you think that when you do that, that's, the light at the end of your tunnel. And it's not. It is completely and totally the beginning. I was not at all prepared for the things that would happen when I left my husband. I was not prepared for the way that he would behave, the things that he did. So as this has gone on and on over years, and I've been unable to divorce him because I've been unable to, first unable to find him, unable to serve him. The laws are really not very helpful for, victims of domestic violence or, narcissistic abuse, things of these sorts. So, so I'm kind of trapped into this marriage, and the abuse didn't stop the day that I left. It just transitioned into a new sort of abuse. And, it's something, it's called post-separation abuse. And it's the very lesser known talked about part of leaving an abusive spouse or partner. So, or even any relationship. So, it could be your mother, it could be siblings, friends, whatever it may be. It doesn't just have to be your partner. So, when someone is hell bent on making sure that you are not completely free of their control, it's going on and on and on and on. And, a person's strength, the only way, will only get you so far before you just start kind of feeling like the world's against you. And then, by the time these several years have gone by, people don't really understand that I'm not really a survivor of abuse yet. I'm still a victim. And that's because of that, because of the, so that's really what sort of implores me to speak up more about it. But as I left him and I talked and started opening up more and more about what had gone into the marriage and the alcoholism and the abuse and the various kinds. And, I've got 12.5 people, just a Facebook friends list that is, people, actual friends of mine that have, reached out to me in my inbox to ask me questions because they think that they're going through some of the same things and that they didn't realize that they were being abused. But they, they're very unhappy and they don't know why, and they're not feeling well, and they're starting to have health conditions and unexplainable health conditions. I have fibromyalgia. So, I was basically sick the entire time I was actually with my husband. I nearly died 5 times during the course of when I was married to him. So, never almost died beforehand. And in 4 years since then, still no near death experiences again for me. So, I know that there's a correlation between the abuse and, what it does to your health.
Right. Wow.
Your physical health. There's what it does to your mental health as well.
Yeah.
And that's the real doozy. So,
Yeah.
while I am now I'm not in danger of, getting my butt kicked on a drunken Friday night, because it's safe from, that randomness. And, I'm safe from the, trying to have to control and dissipate the situations and always feel like I, have to keep control of him. So, but now I deal with different types of abuse, and it's primarily emotional and financial abuse.
Wow. Well, let's get into the details a little bit of what you experienced. First of all, tell us when you met your husband and how long were you guys married for?
Well, I'm still married to him.
You're still married, yes.
Yes, we
can't get that divorce yet.
We met very beginning of 2012.
Yes.
In a hot minute, I was in my mid 30s, so I was 33, and he was 39. So we're not young children anymore rushing into things, but we did have an unplanned pregnancy, so that really sort of rushed things along. So we got married later that year, at the end of July. So it was very quick. I was obviously very full of pregnancy hormones, and I kind of have to attribute that to part of, any doubts that I might have been having leading up to it. I know that I dismissed them because there was always, of course it was logical that I would be, feeling a certain way or things like that. So I married him. He was charming and interesting, and he was shy. And, I knew that, Europeans drink. They kind of make a fun little hobby out of being alcoholics. I knew that he drank daily, but I didn't realize the extent of it. So when he even came to me, I didn't even know that he was an alcoholic. I just knew that, he'd have a beer or two in the evening after work. No big deal. And then it progressed. So like the first time that I really felt the narcissistic abuse cycle, there's a pattern of behavior. And, the first stage, which is where they hook you, is the idealization. You kind of don't realize it's happening, but they're putting you on a pedestal and they're emulating you. And, they're making you feel so wonderful and special, and like there's this is your soulmate, because they just seem to get you.
Wow.
And then the next stage is where they begin to devalue you. And in hindsight, I realized that started to happen even in the time before that I married him. But I started feeling very uncomfortable around the time it was our honeymoon. I had some really sad moments where I felt like something just didn't feel right. We were supposed to be on our honeymoon, and it just was basically just traveling around the U.S. with me pregnant in the summer heat while he drank in different cities, New Orleans, Tennessee.
So even as soon as your honeymoon, there were red flags.
Yes, there were red flags. So, but again, I was pregnant and hormonal, and I was not having an easy pregnancy to begin with. So I attributed my emotions to, being pregnant. I've never been, pregnant before. And so I didn't really know what to expect. And of course, I'm a bit of an older mother too. So I felt like it might be, hitting me a little harder than what I might have expected to be. So, you write things off in little ways along the way. But I noticed on our honeymoon that he was, I didn't know he had been drinking all afternoon because I had taken a nap in a cabin in Tennessee in the middle of nowhere, and he had drank all afternoon. And when I woke up, it was time to go to dinner, and I noticed that he was driving very erratically, and then I realized that he was drunk. And in my mind, I was like, "What? Why would he drive with his pregnant wife in the car if he's been drinking?" And I'm like, "Well, maybe it didn't hit him until he got up and got in the." I mean, like
You're making all these excuses.
Yes,
to
you do,
understand.
because I'm a newlywed and I'm pregnant, and like it or
Yeah.
not, whether red flags or not, I'm having a child with this man.
Yeah.
So you just try to make the lemons out of lemonade every step of the way, and then one day you realize that your lemonade distribution center.
Yeah.
So, and
What was
then,
the first,
the devaluation, and then they come back in and they make it up and they make you feel better. And it's, the equivalent of being addicted to a drug, because you get all the happy brain chemicals when they treat you lovely. And then you go to cortisol flooding when, they treat you like crap and stress you out. And it's a vicious cycle. And it is the same chemically in your brain as being addicted to heroin. So
Right.
basically, you're essentially addicted to this abuse cycle. So, really in that stage of it, the hardest part is to break free of that abuse cycle.
Well,
For
can I
me,
ask you about the
sure,
first
go ahead.
time it became physical? What happened, and what did you do?
The first time it got truly physical, we lived in Texas, and he had gotten very intoxicated at home, and I don't know, I have no idea what started it, but there was some sort of disagreement between the two of us. I suspect he probably just started an argument because he wanted to go get more beer. So he wanted an excuse to leave without me knowing what he was doing. So I realized he was intoxicated, and I tried to stop him from drinking, and he just plowed through me like I wasn't there. He picked me up and slammed me face first into the floor. I broke a tooth. I was terribly bruised. I had dislocated ribs and bruised ribs and things of that sort. So now, again, I'm able to write that off as an isolated incident because he's never hurt me before, like physically. Like that was crazy, and he's full of adrenaline and rage, and here, I tried to literally get in the way of a 190 pounds of drunk stupid, and I'm 135 pounds of, and he's a foot taller than me, so I had no idea that he could would just do that. So it was very shocking. I talked to my family. My parents knew about it. I called his family and told them about it. So I didn't hesitate. I'm like, oh, no, you crossed the line now. I'm like, you don't get to put your hands on me. And I called my daddy, and I called my brother. I called his dad, and I'm just like, I'm gonna tell the whole world on you.
Yeah.
But I
Were
didn't
his
press
family
start.
members were they surprised when you told them?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to tell. So, because the first time I reached out to their parents earlier in the marriage, when my youngest son was 1 year old, so he's 8.5 now. His parents were visiting from Europe, and I had reached out to his family prior to them coming, and during the time they were there. His mother doesn't speak English, so there's limited contact there. But I reached out to his dad, and I begged him to help me because he was a drunk, and he was emotionally abusing me. He was having inappropriate conversations with other women from his past. He's lying to me. And there was a whole terrible story that goes along with that trip, but I ended up leaving the home for a few days with my children because the way his family was behaving while I was there, it just left. But I'm in the middle of West Texas and I don't know what to do. So I was at a hotel for a few days, just trying to process what had happened. And so then I talked to Rob and I went back home and that evening. And, it was peculiar to me when I got there. Everything in our house that belonged to me or the children had been shoved into the nursery and the door had been closed. I had only been gone a couple of days.
Wow.
Rob
Now
told
we're
me,
looking at a picture.
he told me his mom did it.
We're looking at a photo here of your face, Nicole. That
Yes.
looks like you're bruised with a black and blue eye and face here.
Yeah, that was where the tooth broke, and then of course where my
Yeah.
face hit the floor there.
So when you say your tooth was broken, I saw this picture and I was trying to figure out what this is. This is your actual tooth.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So it had to come out. It didn't come out right away. It was broken, and then a little cap was put on it, and then of course Rob. No, we couldn't afford to go to the dentist to get it fixed. So after I left him, it ended up being a situation where I had to really have it out because it was getting infected and becoming a problem.
Oh my God.
So
this is you. I mean, you look like a totally different person now, for the better, I must add.
Thank you.
But my gosh, you look so thin and frail here in addition to the bruises and stuff.
Yes. So, and that was one of the things that really was that abuse cycle for me. So I was heavier when we got married and when he met me, and that was not a problem. And then after we were married and, he wanted to start rejecting me in the bedroom. It was because I was pregnant and it made him uncomfortable. And I'm thinking in my head, grow up, but whatever. Out there, see, pregnant, blushing bride there. No, I forgot where I was.
You were saying how you started.
So after after I had the baby and there's really very little intimacy, I started asking questions, and then he explained to me that it was because I was too fat. Now I'd had a weight problem, a much worse weight problem when I was younger that I'd gotten, under control for the most part when he even met me, but I was still, fuller figured. So after I had both of the children, I'm not really sure how I almost died giving birth to both of our kids. So, but after I had the boys, by the time my baby was 18 months, I had slimmed down another 70 pounds to about 130. Within 18 months after my son being born, and I was 38 years old. And then he told me that I was too skinny and that I needed to gain the weight back. He had me had plastic surgery. This was the night before I had plastic surgery right here. To have surgery, I was having a lower body lift and then upper work done for skin removal type stuff. And so we paid for the surgery for the lower half. And then there was trouble during the surgery, and it was only able to be half done. And so it's been left at that point because he wouldn't pay for me to go in and to fix it, because I had chosen to do the bottom half instead of the top half first, because he wanted me to get, a breast lift and breast implants that was going to make me even bustier than I already was. And I refused. So
he's controlling, including your weight. You're too fat. You're too skinny. You need cosmetic surgery done.
He told me my parents didn't like me because I was a fat, ugly American girl, and I didn't meet up to their beauty standards. And, I don't know that they ever said any of that stuff, but there was that's how he got his flying monkeys going in there. So, but I have to tell you, the first time
with this man,
I'm sorry.
You have 3 children or 2 children?
I have 2 children with this man. When I met him, he had a child that was about 6 or 7 years old with from a previous relationship. He was not married to her. However, she was married when the child was conceived and born. So therefore he had a different legal father. The mother lost custody. It was a terrible thing. And then when I was halfway through my pregnancy with my second son, we got a phone call that Ethan's, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say his name, that the boy's legal father and caretaker had passed away. He had full custody of the boy because the mother had lost custody of him on more than one occasion, all on her own. So his wish was that, the biological father and his new wife raise his son. So we had him for about 2.5 years. It was an ever living nightmare. He wouldn't raise his son. It was up to me. And then, it just, I'll skip over I could go on for an hour with that story. So it was just really, really ridiculous. And I kind of don't really want to relive the difficulties of a child, custody battle and, all the things that go along with that.
Right. So, your husband abusive, you've sent us tons of photos. We see you here, as a bride at happier times. Looks like at that point he was kind of treating you good, and we go from there to outright abuse. He's hitting you, basically almost knocking your tooth out to the point where you actually have to have the tooth removed.
Yes.
Bruising you, battering you up, and we have pictures of him as well. Tell us what's going on in these photographs of him that we're looking at here.
Well, this is the last time he had been arrested in North Carolina.
Right.
By this point, this was a week or so before I left him. He had, at this point, I was recovering from a really terrible illness, and we haven't really talked about that. So I was very frail and recovering. I had to learn to walk and talk again, and all sorts of things. So this is about 6.5 months after I'd come home from the hospital. He neglected me from the time I came home, and because I wouldn't let him drink at home anymore, because I, didn't want to get beat up or the children to be subjected to what he's like when he's drunk or anything like that. So he would leave work in the middle of the day and go drink from about 2 or 3 o'clock, and then come home, at dinner time, usually late, and then want to know where dinner was after I'd already fed the children hours ago, and get angry with me because I didn't have dinner for him. I'm like, well, it's in the fridge. You know how to work the microwave. My priority was taking care of the children, not him. I had warned him at this point not to go out and drink and socialize in the community that he lived and worked in, because we lived in a very rural community at the university, the university there. So there's really like 2 bars and, a couple, maybe 1 or 2 restaurants, this was really it. And I'm like, you can't do this. I was like, you can't be seen in public doing that, but he was doing it anyways. And, I don't know, there was, again, another woman by this point where there was some inappropriate relations going on, at least. Anyways, that's sort of really irrelevant whether there was other women involved. The point is that it was betrayals, and they were, blamed on me. It was my fault for, refusing to let him talk to the woman that was trying to destroy our lives behind my back. We're in custody battle, and he's getting drunk and talking to her in the bathroom. So, you'll notice the theme here. It's drinking. He's a narcissist. He's an abusive narcissist. But when he's not drinking, he's really not terrible. He's incredibly intelligent.
I mean, you say that, Nicole, but we do have some message exchange between you guys. I don't know if he was drinking or drunk when he wrote those,
Well,
I think there's a part of him that he is a narcissist. He is abusive. And I mean, I guess the alcohol maybe gives him an excuse to be his worst possible person. Now, he has been arrested multiple times as well. People might start to figure out a little bit of who he is now, looking at the name, and we're going to talk about where he works here in the Cayman Islands here in just a second. But this is an arrest record of him back in 2019. This would have been which abuse occasion, at the very beginning, towards the end?
This didn't involve me at all. He had gotten he had gotten in a bar fight, and his explanation was to me, what happened was that there was a black gentleman who kept kind of getting in his face and bothering him, and he's drunk by this point and getting annoyed with him, and in Dutch he kind of just said to, told him to go away, black person, which is the way you would say it in the Netherlands. It's not really, at least that's what he told me. So I'm like, okay, well, I was like, racist is racist no matter what language it comes out of your mouth.
So the term that he used,
no wonder you promptly got your face stomped in.
Yeah. Yeah. And the term that he used in the Dutch language is the equivalent of the N-word, basically. And so,
but he maintains that it is not offensive in the Netherlands.
Right. I'm sure, because they have no black people there that would tell him it's offensive. Probably.
He hasn't really lived there since he was in his early 20s. So,
wow.
But the fact is he is a narcissist. And there's nothing that we can do about that. He's an abusive narcissist. However, that abuse comes, it's Jekyll and Hyde with alcohol. So he's really much more tolerable and more agreeable when he is sober. And I don't mean like on a, sober today, or say sober at this moment, as in, sober for periods of time. He just cannot maintain it. And he's still the father of my children. I still need a divorce from him. I need him to pay child support.
Here's another arrest record. Is this in relation to you at this time?
This was Mother's Day, 2018. We had gone out to in Raleigh. There, it was very big to have the breweries where they had the music and the food trucks and all that kind of stuff. And it would start earlier in the day and was family friendly. And then as they would move into the evening, obviously, people with their children needed to go home. But we were doing, we were at one of those things in the city, and it was getting late. The children were sleepy. And I had, just simply said, I was like, it's time to go. The babies are tired. It's already past their bedtime. So I began to gather their things, and I took them out to the car and, put them in the car and sent him off to go pay the tab. Again, I didn't realize the level of drunk that he was, but I was still driving. I knew I was driving. And so I'm sitting in the car waiting, and he paid the tab, got another beer, and then had carried it out to the car in a glass. And the manager of the establishment saw him do this, came to the window and was like, "Hey man, you can't do that." And, really kind of gave him a little scolding for it, and told him, not to come back. And, I was just in the car, and again, I got babies in the back seat and he's drunk. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to sit here and keep my mouth shut and, drive us home. It was like 20 miles to get home. And as I was about to get on the freeway, he just started screaming at me, just next to me, screaming into my face and telling me how I had ruined his night, and he was having fun, and I don't know exactly what was going on, but he was being very vile, and he had never spoken to me that way in front of the children, especially with such anger in his voice. And I pulled the car over promptly, and I said, "You're not going to talk to me that way." I said, "You get out of the car." And so he got out of the car, And, he stood there for a minute, and I said, now you can get back in the car. I said, if you get in this car and keep your hands and your mouth to yourself, like, I don't want to hear you. Just sit down, shut up. You go to bed when you get home. And, he proceeded to spew some nastiness. So I left him there. But I did kind of circle back around after about a half an hour, and I went looking for him right where he had gone in, and he was actually hiding from me on purpose. But he was hiding in the woods, and it's North Carolina and a little bit of a rural area where we were. And I was worried that he was going to end up on someone's private property and get shot in the dark or whatever, or mugged. And so after a couple of hours, he wasn't responding to anything. So I called the police to ask for help. And I explained that, he was having, some mental health issues, and, that he needed to be handled, delicately, because, if you come in with force, he's absolutely going to freak out on you. And
so do you think at this point you're still making excuses for him? Because, I mean...
Well, because after that happened, it took 5 officers to subdue him, and they did arrest him for resisting arrest.
Here's one of the photos of officers. Is this his actual? I don't think this is his mugshot, but you can see an officer has his hand around his throat.
The photo that they got of him in booking, because he would not cooperate.
So they actually had to use force against him.
Yeah, so if you'll notice that, yes, there took 5 officers to wrestle him to the ground at the scene.
Wow.
And he was on school property. So he didn't know where he was, but he was on school property. And so, this is at 5:46 in the morning. They had arrested him at 11 or 12 o'clock. So at 5:45 a.m., he was still that combative. That he wouldn't even let us mugshot. So then when you see the one in the orange jumpsuit, that was his official mugshot from that arrest. But the thing was I was so upset with him that day, obviously, because we had just leveled up a whole new level. And I knew that I had to protect his career. And so I hired an attorney and, I got him out of trouble for it. But the thing was, I said I was really angry about it at first. And then once I got him home the next day, and, he was up in the shower, and I picked up the bag that had his clothes in it, and I was going to wash them and stuff. And this photo was stapled to his bag. And when I saw that photo, I didn't know that man. You know what I mean? Like, this photo broke my ever loving heart. And I should have kept that anger, but this is a man who needs help. You know what I mean? This isn't a man that needs to be arrested and beaten up by police officers and then through the court system. This is a man who needs alcohol treatment. He needs mental health treatment to deal with the issues that he has. If he can get sober, he's not a terrible guy. He was a very loving father. There's plenty of beautiful photos of him with his children. They adored him. He was very loving and attentive, even especially as babies. They were premature. He was very attentive to them, but very neglectful of me. So,
it sounds like despite everything, this is someone that obviously you cared about.
I have children with him. I just assume never see him again in my life, but that's not realistic. And maybe I don't have to ever see him, but I do still have to deal with him for at least another decade. And here's where this gets really, where it switched into, advocating for a different issue. Was fortunate enough not to have alcoholic parents, but I did have, an abusive mother. And, those were things that I did not deal with. My childhood abuse, I did not deal with until after I left him and came back home to Ohio and realized that, the reason why I had tolerated so much is because I had been conditioned as a child to tolerate abuse, disguised as love. So that's a whole nother issue. But in my life, I've had a number of alcoholics that were extremely close to me. I have a friend of 25 years that he's a recovered alcoholic, cocaine and heroin addict for 27, better part of 30, or something like that. I mean, it's insane. And, he lives in Kentucky, and, he's really, we've been friends for a very long time. And I didn't know him when he was an addict or, was an alcoholic. So I only know the hairs that evolved out of that. And, we've been great friends, and he's very inspirational to show me how people can really overcome their demons. But on the other hand, again, in my early 20s, I, made friends with someone when I was in college, and he turned out to be, a brother from another mother, and we related, and he was my best friend, and we had so much fun in our youth, and we all, he came into my group of friends, and we grew up together, and everybody went to college and married and did their things, and so on and so forth. And my friend had a doctorate in psychology and was a renowned professional in his field in Florida. And he passed away at 39 years old from liver failure. And we always knew that he had a drinking problem. But, the thing is no one really did anything about it, because what are you supposed to do about it? He knew he had a drinking problem. We knew he had. So it was just sort of a thing that just kind of became, well, this is what it is. So, so there was that, but, and that just happened 4 years ago. And that was just crushed my heart, to lose my best friend that way. And the thing is I lost him when I was when I was dealing with all of this stuff, and God, he would have been the most perfect person to hold my hand through a lot of things. And now I'm doing it without him, and I hope he's proud of me, but, or at least that he would be proud of me. But I lost my best friend when we were, he's just way too young to alcoholism, and it's a shame. Before that, I have a cousin that I have been close with my entire life. And when I was pregnant with my son 11 years ago, he was an addict and had trouble it started with alcoholism, and then it just spread on to drugs. So when I was pregnant with Max, I got a phone call one day that my cousin Ken had passed away alone in a VA hospital in California with no one at his side, from cirrhosis. And he was 40. So, and he was a narcissist. Like, in hindsight, I've talked to his ex-wife, he was terrible to her. And, the thing, he was not a good father and all of those things. But narcissists are these people that were not born, they were made. And I'm not saying that we should feel sorry for them, because they are aware that they are shitheads. But they don't know how to fix it, or, whatever. It's very, very complicated. But they are in our lives. Many of our leaders are narcissists. Some of our most powerful and successful people in business and politics are all narcissists. I don't skip politics, because that's just, we don't know what's going on around here. But anyways, it's a fact of life that they're in our lives, and that we have to deal with them. And, I want him to get sober. I want his employers to stop disregarding that he has a problem and invest in him.
So let's talk about let's talk about who he is. 'Cause I think a lot of people in the comment section have already put it together.
Yes.
People will remember that we did a story just last month, I believe it was mid-July, about this drunken driver in a parking lot who hit a car, him and his girlfriend Penny, got belligerent, and ended up essentially causing all this havoc, hit the man's car, left the scene of the accident. And here he is. And he was later identified as a Dr. Robertus Hilliard, who's a pharmaceutical instructor at St. Matthew's. You know, I'll show a better picture of him when he's sober. It looks like we've got more pictures of him not being sober than when he is sober, but here he is, causing havoc on this island, going into establishments, walking out, not paying his bill, acting the total fool, getting in fights and stuff here as well, grabbing the credit card machine out of the manager's hand at, I forget the name of the restaurant there now, I think it's Crack Hunk.
You know, I could almost tell you how that interaction went. He was probably asked to pay his tab and leave, and presented with a credit card machine, and he wasn't ready to go. And I would nothing. He thinks it's enraging when people, bring you a check before you've asked for it.
Yeah,
that's.
I think it had something to do with him not wanting to pay the bill. In fact,
I don't. I've never seen him do that. So
yeah, maybe Penny's expensive to maintain.
Oh, no doubt. He does like women that need a lot of hair and makeup and boobs and the dress and he likes that.
So
I don't know why.
Do have some limited time on the show, Nicole?
Oh,
so
yes.
Let's fast forward a little bit here, and I want to talk about the divorce and also some of the message exchanges here. So we see February of this year, he said to you, Nicole, I've been thinking about you wanting alimony for 1 year. I ask you to drop this request. I've been generous to work with you and agreed to pay the full child support amount, which is based on you reporting no income. Paying around $2,258 a month is a huge chunk from my paycheck, which I can't afford. So this is the two of you in talks and negotiations, trying to settle some aspects of your previous union so that you can hopefully get a divorce and move on from this guy. And he's telling you that he's not going to pay the year of alimony.
And then he goes on to continue to threaten me that if I don't drop the alimony, then he's just going to stop paying it all. So now he didn't pay anything for over 2 years. And then all of a sudden he popped up with this random amount of $900 ish that he was going to start sending. And then he decided to, after a while, once I got used to that, being able to count on that, then he would just pull that support whenever he wanted. And that's what he's been doing the majority of this year, is he just pays 1 month, doesn't pay another month, knowing that I'm dependent on it to get the rent paid. So I've been through numerous evictions.
Yeah, I noticed what he said in this one about, how you're putting pressure on him to pay to all this money. He says, I cook my meals during the week and focus on my work, do my oil painting. I think he meant to say ride my bicycle, but he says ride my bicycle. Listen to my music after work. Penny is still my girlfriend, even though she's older. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but I spend the weekends with her. I promise I will financially support you. I'm not in a hurry to divorce you. Are you? Why wouldn't he want a divorce? I mean, he's here in the Cayman Islands living his best life with Penny. So why not get a divorce? That doesn't even make any sense. Why would he not be in a hurry to divorce you anyway? He's in a full-fledged relationship with Penny. I hope Penny's paying attention, because he's probably telling Penny something very different.
Penny is being abused as well. I'm not saying he's beating her, but like the narcissistic abuse is there. And I could tell by the way she responded when she got out of the car during the altercation. She's trying to hide him. She's trying to dissipate the situation, because she knows. She knows what's in store if she can't get the situation to de-escalate immediately and get him out of there. And and I see it, and I feel terrible for her. But, at the same time, shame on you, Penny, because you are out every weekend spending my children's money. The money that they need to live for school supplies.
But he's trying to make it, I chuckled when he's trying to make it sound like, oh, he's staying home eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, when he's going to Macabuca and other places, running up a bar tab. And liquor in Cayman is not cheap. So, if he's doing that every weekend with his drunken self. Apparently Penny is also married, but I guess this is a Christian community where none of that matters. He goes on to ask about your health in typical narcissistic fashion. About last month, you sent a cryptic message about metabolic acidosis and anion gap. What was that all about?
Well, in
Are you anemic?
2019, I got sick, and yes, and where I got really, really sick, and so I'm still recovering from that.
Yeah.
When your whole body dies and you're on full organ system life support, no brain activity.
I love how he analyzes you. I mean, this is so typical of a narcissist, where he talks about, you taking stuff for PTSD caused by him, no doubt. Are you anemic? He says, I've always known you were a woman who was very hyperactive in your mind, very anxious, over analyzing. So now he's mentally diagnosing you. Very difficult for an introvert, hard to express my emotions type of guy. A mild form of autism. So who has a mild form of autism, you or him? Who's he trying to say?
He has a mild form of autism. He did not know. Our son has it, and he was diagnosed at 3 years old. And at that time, Rob was 43. And that's when he got his diagnosis. And
okay, so now he's saying that you might have a mild form of autism as well?
No, he's talking about it's hard for him to understand someone who is like me, which he has ADHD. I have ADHD. I just have inattentive ADHD, which is exactly the truth, where all my hyperactivity is internal in my mind, whereas someone who explains it outwardly is, bouncing off the walls and always has to be busy. So, there's neurodivergence everywhere. But when we, turned out to have an autistic child, that's when you start looking at backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of autism on his side of the family too. So, he got that diagnosis, and he was comforted by it. Because he said, it feels like, all of a sudden so many things in his life made sense. And that I can relate to, because I didn't know I had ADHD until 4 months ago, and I'm 45. And once I found that diagnosis, and you wrap that into the PTSD stuff, like you don't know what's going on. It's hard to figure out what's what. But as soon as I got that diagnosis, I was like, oh, okay. So now
so let me just
whole life makes sense.
And say to our radio listeners that we're going to continue the conversation for a little bit longer in social media with Nicole here, but of course the radio will be ending. It'll automatically shut off here in just a second. Okay. So, radio listeners can always switch over to the social media stream. We're on Facebook and YouTube. We've got almost 400 people between those two who are listening to Nicole's story. And we're going to get a little bit, Nicole, into the whole divorce situation, because I found this to be quite interesting as well. So let's talk about this. Apparently he tried to divorce you without you knowing anything about it?
No. I left him when I first left him. I think this was right before the pandemic started, but within a couple of months I filed for I hired an attorney in North Carolina, and I said I want to divorce him as soon as possible. And each state has a little bit of different laws, but that's where we had been living, for few years at that time. So that attorney in Fuquay Varina, North Carolina, she really just spent all of my money trying to figure out how to serve him when we didn't know where he was, because he had abandoned our home. He had gone to Alabama, but I didn't have the address where he was, and the address I did have, he wasn't at, and it was a whole thing. So I couldn't serve him. And then, I'm in Ohio, and then I put in an application with legal aid to help me with this. And after over a year of him, and by now we know where he is. We know that he's in the Caymans, because I didn't know where he was for the better part of 2 years to even know where to serve him. So he just kind of disappeared, and he did it on purpose so that he couldn't be served with anything. And I forgot where I was at. So after all of that time with legal aid, the best advice that they came up with me was just stay married to him. And I'm like, that's ludicrous. And they were like, well, it's up to you, whatever it was. And I'm like, I just need time to think about this. I was like, that just doesn't even make sense. I'm like, how is that's the best that we can do? I'm like, this is awful. So unacceptable. And then they closed my case out. So when I asked for 2 years ago, I asked for passports for my children. I had an opportunity to take my children to Dubai for the summer random thing that, once in a lifetime opportunity. And I needed their passports, which meant he needed to sign for them. He refused. I had to go through his father because he wouldn't talk to me. And then they ultimately told me that Rob said no because he didn't think that it was responsible of me to take my children out of the country and out of school. And I was like, it's summertime. And who are you to tell me what is and isn't responsible for me to do with my children? You abandoned them. I'm taking care of them. So you don't get a vote. But anyways, he refused to do that. And then later on, he told me that the real reason he said no was because he was afraid that I was just going to bring them to the Netherlands and drop them off and tell him that he had to take care of them from now on. And he, end quote, could not afford them because it is so expensive for expats to send their kids to school. Something
in the Netherlands.
No, in Cayman, because he's in
here. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So he would not give me their passports because he was afraid that I was going to literally force him to be responsible for the children physically, which no, I wouldn't do that. But anyways, he admitted that that's the reason why he crapped all over this incredible experience for all of us is because of his own selfish concerns. But yeah, so there was that. And so in his response to that, me asking for their passports was to send me those divorce papers from the Caymans to try and divorce me from there. Now, we didn't get married there. We didn't meet there. Our children weren't born there. And we've never lived there together. So there was Cherry Bridges on the island there. I spoke with her and she was a tremendous help to me. And she helped me get the whole thing shut down because he wasn't even eligible for domicile. So, and of course he just wanted to force something through where it had exactly what he wanted, which was zero responsibility and an actual divorce.
So we see some of the legal documents here of him trying to file a petition. This is back in 2022, just last year. Yes. Where he talks about the fact that he married in Toledo and Ohio, and that you lived and cohabited together in North Carolina. He claims that the court has jurisdiction because he was domiciled in the Cayman Islands for more than a year. And then he talks about that the relationship has irretrievably broken down. He goes on to talks about the fact that you have unreasonable behavior, because what you may not know in the Cayman Islands is we don't have a no fault system. So you have to show fault by the party. So essentially, I'm just trying to see if we can increase this a little bit for people to see. But essentially, he was trying to say that these were the reasons why he was forcing you.
Yes.
Cease communicating, not husband and wife, not being in a relationship. Marriage is broken down irretrievably. There's no prospect of reconciliation. He says that there are 2 children of the marriage. The petition
was the shocking part of that for me.
Yeah, no matrimonial assets to be divided, of course, because he left you broken with 2 kids. He says that there's no other proceedings in respect of the said marriage pending before the courts of the Cayman Islands or in any other jurisdiction. But weren't the 2 of you trying to come to terms with child support and so on?
Not at this point.
Oh, okay.
He was just refusing to pay anything. His logic was that clearly they were still alive after all this time on their own with me. So clearly I don't need him. We don't need him. Or his money. I'm like, that's not true.
Wow.
That's really, really not true.
Yeah. So Cayman Family Law did this petition for him. And
yes, he was
seeking
no visitation or contact with the children in that document, and seeking no alimony, or paying no alimony or spousal maintenance or whatever, and $1 per month in child support for both children.
What?
Yeah, it's in there.
I've got it. There's it's there. So he wanted to pay a nominal fee basically to support his own children of $1 a month?
Yes.
Wow. This guy sounds like he is a real piece of work.
So after I shut this whole crap down, thank you, Sherry Bridges, very, very much. I don't know how to thank her enough for that. It was extremely stressful. So once that happened, I got him to agree to a mediation for disillusionment. So no attorneys, no judge. You know, you go through a mediator, we come to an agreement, judge signs off, you know, as long as everything looks reasonable and it's done. And so we went through all the way through that process, which took a really long time for us to get there. And we went through the mediation, and as soon as he heard the, the child support amount and the alimony amount, he pretty much fired the mediator and started messaging me directly to threaten me. So, and that's where some of those, screenshots I sent yesterday, where that's where he's just threatening me and gaslighting me and all of that sort of stuff. And that's that, post-separation abuse tactics that are killing me. I just want a divorce. I want a fair divorce. Like, I really wanted a normal divorce where, we would live in the same place and that he could see his kids on the weekends and, do something normal. And, it just didn't go that way. As soon as I, gave up on the marriage, he was like, well, I don't have to take care of the kids and I don't have to take care of you because you left me. And, that's been very much his logic, and that's a narcissist logic, but, still here. So, I had to wrestle a lot with whether or not to even come on and talk about this stuff because, all along I've been protecting his career and not documenting the abuse that I've gone over the last, 11 years. Because I was trying to protect him. And why am I trying to protect him? Because I have 2 children, and because of Rob completely derailing my, my plans for continuing my education and everything that I had there. He derailed it. So my income potential is earning potential is crap. I've been out of the workforce for a very long time because I was a stay-at-home mother. And the reason why I was a stay-at-home mother was not because I ever planned on it. It was because I got sick when I was pregnant with the first child, and I remained sick until the day I left and beyond.
Wow.
So
I want to talk a little bit about your sickness, but I also want to read some comments that are coming in. People are listening.
Sure.
Story. This person says, "Oh, that drunken fool, who is Penny's side piece, works at the medical school. Penny is also married, so that's interesting." This person says that this man is crazy. Nicole looks so beautiful in that picture with her family. And any man who beats on women like this needs to be beaten himself. My mother told me stories of my father beating her when I was a baby. They're not together anymore, but any man who put their hand on my mother, including my father, I would beat him within an inch of his life. He's engaging in something called gaslighting. So he's a narcissist who has obviously mastered that. And this other person has basically said that they feel like you're still displaying 100% victimology. It's sad how she wanted or wants to protect him and his career. You've just explained that in part that's because,
Yeah, I'll be honest. There was a hurricane earlier this year that was Hurricane Nicole that came to the Caribbean, and I heard it, and I was like, I had to look at the news and see what the trajectory was. I was like, is it going to hit the Cayman Islands? I was like, because it would just be like the most beautiful karma if he just gets blown right off the island by Hurricane Nicole. So I don't. There is no love loss, but there is the fact that I'm going to be connected to him no matter what for a while.
Right.
And I want the abuse to stop. I want some, we are entitled to some stability. We are entitled, every month. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay the rent or not. That's an incredible toll, stress that it takes on a single mother, he left me with no car, no money. He set fire to half of the stuff in our house when I went back to get it. And it wasn't that he set fire to stuff. It was what he set fire to. And that was everything that belonged to the children. Not my stuff.
And there was, there was one point when he said something about, I think he was trying to make reference to CMR, but I couldn't quite pick it up. But he's making some comment about thanking you for taking stuff off of social media about him. And then he doesn't want some local gossip paper or something to get a hold of it.
Yes, that happened. I want to say it was March when he stopped paying child support or stopped paying the amount that he was paying. So it's supposed to be a higher amount, but again, he just pays whatever he decided was the right amount that he thought. And I never argued with it because I don't want to rock the boat. But at least it's something. And so that comment came after he threatened to stop paying support, and then he did. And when that happened, I hadn't heard from him. He wasn't responding to me. Couldn't get him to answer the phone, emails, text messages, nothing. So at that point, I called the university and I tried to report to the Cayman the police, that I needed some sort of like welfare check because I didn't, knowing with the kind of trouble he gets in, I don't know if he's dead or alive, I don't know if he's in prison for running somebody over when he was drunk. Or sober, because he can't drive whether he's drunk or sober, but it's just drunk is worse. So I really was concerned, but at the same time, like I knew it was a game, so I needed to show him that I'm not going to tolerate that. So I contacted his employer and tried to report it with the police, and I put a few things on social media on the St. Matthew's website because I'm like, hey, if you're not going to pay attention to me privately, then I'm going to start screaming publicly. And so at that point, he agreed that he would no longer, with the financial abuse, as long as I agreed to fix the situation with the university and retract the email that I sent and, whatever. So basically it was agreed. I will not contact anyone except for you. I was like, and you will stop the silent treatment and continue with the payments. We agreed upon that. And then he just decided to stop paying money again. So I was like,
yeah. So he says here,
he's testing me. So I was like, So then he had his attorney email me, my attorney at this point, because we do have attorneys, trying to scold me for trying to disparage him publicly. And the only thing I could do was send back the clips of your show and all of that footage and then saying, I'm sorry, who's disparaging who? I was like,
he has a reputation at this point.
He tells a bunch of lies and nobody does anything. I said, but I tell the truth and everyone gets hostile.
So he says here, thank you for removing everything from social media and for sending an email to Larissa Green. Who's Larissa Green?
She's the human resources person at St. Matthew's.
Okay.
Yes.
I have forwarded it to my boss, telling him you also plan to clean up the loose ends. Let's hope this is no nut out. I don't know what that. Let's hope there's no nut out there, right, that publishes something negative about SMU and a faculty member in a local gossip newspaper.
Are you a gossip newspaper?
Well, we speak the truth. You can call it gossip or you can call it whatever you want, but it is the truth.
Well, I am a
So-
teller of truth, so
Yes. So I guess
the
that's what
truth
he was
is the
afraid
truth,
of.
whether anybody likes it or not.
Exactly. So he says, Nicole, I'm very proud of you. You raised the boys by yourself in these stressful situations. You deserve a lot of credits, he says. I regret that it had to come to all of this. You are the only role model they have. At least he admits something. You need to be strong, healthy, and without stress to raise them. Deep inside, I'm very sad not to be the proper father for them. Trust me, I swallow these feelings and hide them inside. I am sure they have learned how to live without their biological father and don't miss me anymore. What a sad thing to say. I will always love them. I miss Nick to sit on my, I think that's supposed to be lap, when I paint or snuggle with me in bed. As I said, I try not to think about these moments. There's also the reason why I find it so difficult to talk to them. I have to do a better job of communicating with them. Please give me another chance in FaceTiming with them. Ask them if they're up to it. Wow. And then he goes on to talk about how his children don't deserve to live in poverty, but this is the same man who wants to pay you $1 in child support.
They
What
live
is
in
it gonna
poverty
do
and
$1?
he knows it, and he does it on purpose. But this is the stuff that he says that makes me, he'll say to me to make me feel better,
Yeah.
flattering, and then nothing changes. So that's the same MO. Last year for Christmas, he told me instead of going to visit his parents in the Netherlands, because plane ticket was really like $1,400, and he thought that was too expensive, and that the money would be better spent on giving it to me for the children. And I said, you know what, Rob? I said, before you just send me $1,400, honestly, I'd rather you buy the plane ticket and come to the U.S. and see your children. I was like, give them some closure or something, because I've always tried to foster that relationship. I didn't want him to just disappear out of their lives. That's damaging. My youngest boy has terrible PTSD and anxiety, and he used to be just a little love bug, snuggled with his daddy all the time, and then one day his daddy was gone, and now he won't let anybody touch him. Including me. Like only with special permission am I allowed to snuggle him.
Wow. He claims that he's not living an expensive lifestyle here. I do still live by myself in an apartment that cost him $2,200. I mean, he could probably find something a little bit cheaper. I know Cayman's expensive, but there are other options.
I told him to get a second job, and he thought that was the most appalling thing that I had ever heard, or he had ever heard. But he thinks it's okay for me to work myself to death.
So you reached out to St. Matthews. What has their response been to all of this?
They've ignored me.
Oh, wow.
This is where I've struggled is, earlier in the marriage, I reached out to Rob's parents and I said, please help me. He's an alcoholic and I need help. He's hurting us and it's gonna, you have to help. And my father-in-law took me into my bedroom and he held my hand in his hands. And he told me that I was ridiculous because I would not allow him to have a beer at the end of the day or a beer with his father when he comes to visit or, or beer at a restaurant with dinner, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, it is a problem when he's hurting me. I was like, he's betraying me. I was like, it is a problem. And my father-in-law, told me that I was just a housewife and that I needed to learn my place, told me to basically sit down and shut up. It was a couple more days until they were leaving. I kept myself quiet for those 2 days. And after they left, I told Rob, I said, they will never see me again. They will never see my children again. Because they really disrespected me. And, when they were in my home, another mess. But so I begged his parents for help, and I was disregarded. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it sounds like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as we say here.
Right.
Father
So
like son.
yeah, this is where I said narcissists aren't born, they're made.
Yeah.
And his dad took a sensitive, weird little boy and mistreated him to the point where he had two roads to go: the road of the empath who is sympathetic to everyone, or the narcissist path.
Mm-hmm.
I was abused as a child too. I didn't take the narcissist path. I'm an empath. I want to make everybody's everything better. And I can't even make my own crap better. Like, I've done everything that I can do, but I need the law to help me now. And they're just, it's not helping.
Okay.
But I'm sorry. I reached out to his employer at Campbell as well in North Carolina after that second arrest. And I tried to reach out to them and say, listen, I need help. You guys told me when I got here that I was part of your, university family here, and that we're all a family. And if I need anything, just reach out for help. And I reached out for help, and I was told that by the dean that they don't take meetings with spouses. And then the next day they fired him. I was trying to ask for help. I was trying to ask for help, and they fired him. And the next, it was insane. So now it's, I turned on the internet a few weeks ago, and there he was doing the same thing that he always does with a different woman. And I'm sure it was somehow all her fault, if you ask him, because it's always.
Well, let's see if we can contact the dean of St. Matthew's. Let's give him a call.
Okay.
And see if he's willing to say anything, really. Yes, hi. Is this the dean of St. Matthew's?
Yes, speaking.
Yes, hi. This is Sandra Hill. We're calling in relation to Dr. Robertus Hilgers, I believe is his name.
I'm sorry that I cannot really comment on that, Sandra.
Mm-hmm.
If you can excuse me.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to, I suppose we don't really expect you to comment, but perhaps you might want to watch today's program, because his wife is on the program today, talking about his history of alcoholism, abusive behavior, his multiple arrests in the US. We've got multiple mugshots. He's gone around calling people the N-word, getting in bar fights and so on. Pictures of her bruised and beaten face. So refusing to pay child support, offering her $1, trying to fraudulently obtain a divorce from her. All of this stuff. Perhaps you might want to, she said she's reached out to you guys and you've effectively ignored her. So maybe it's time that you listened.
Sir, I'm on the line. I would love to.
As I said, I'm sorry, Sandra. I got to go. I cannot really comment on that.
Sir, would you listen for one moment for me to say one thing?
Yeah, his wife would like to speak with you if you listen.
I'm sorry, we don't talk to.
Well, you don't have to talk. She's just asking you.
I'm not asking you to talk to me. I'm just asking you to listen to.
I'm really sorry
seconds.
about that. I can't really, I have to go. I have, that I have a lot of.
Sir, I'm not here to destroy him. Sir, I'm here to try to help.
So you're too busy to just listen for a couple minutes to the truth, is what you're telling me at St. Matthew's.
I can't because I have to attend to the exam thing, which is a priority to us. I'm really sorry, Sandra. Okay.
Your exams are
Thank
priority over everything else. Can I also say to you, as the dean, I don't know if you were the dean there when that young lady got sexually assaulted, and you guys had your.
Sorry again, Sandra. I'm sorry. As I said that you should know that the exam is a priority for the university, and there is an exam going on. I have to go.
What about the people at your university? You don't care about the students who are sexually assaulted, and then you tell your staff not to help the police? Like, you don't care about hiring an abusive employee who has a history of beating women and not wanting to support his children. Like, your exams are more important than any human beings. That's what I'm hearing you say. And I just want to be clear as to what you're telling me. Dean, you can see how this comes across a particular way, right? Hello?
I'm sorry. I'm hanging up. Okay. Bye.
Wow.
Excuse me,
Well,
please.
I
Sorry.
think people need to know what
That's very
St. Matthew's is all
disappointing.
about and probably
I
not support that university either. But thank you anyway for answering the call. Very, very sad.
This could have been over 3
Exams are more
minutes ago if
important,
you would
folks,
have
than
listened.
human beings at St. Matthew. That's Dr. Amitabha Basu, Dr. Basu there at St. Matthew's University, basically saying it's his exams that are the most important thing right now, and he can't even listen. I can understand why he might not be able to say anything, but the fact that he can't listen to me is shocking.
Well, I can say what I want to say, and maybe it reaches him and maybe it doesn't. But, I'm not here to destroy him. I'm not here to get him fired. I'm not here to get him deported. I'm here to ask his employer to help him. Here in the United States, if you have a problem with substance abuse or alcoholism or something like that, is if you go to your employer and you say, listen, I have a problem, there are policies set in place that have to preserve your job while you go through the proper channels with your employer to go through the therapy, whatever their policy is, that you need to go to rehab and, you need to go to meetings and, that kind of stuff. And then you retain your job. And, I don't know what this, if there's anything like that there, but, essentially, I don't want them to get rid of him. He is a wonderful teacher. He teaches a subject that is very complicated, very hard to teach, hard to find professors that can teach it effectively. He has a brilliant mind, and if he would get off the booze, he'd still be a narcissist, but he probably won't be an abusive, selfish, because he drinks to drink away that conscience. If you take that away, he's going to have to sit and deal with who he really is. And that's what he's not capable of doing. And, that's a mental health issue. He needs mental health treatment. He needs to get sober. He needs to commit to it. He has lost a job. If you look at his LinkedIn profile, every job he's had has lasted 2 to 3 years. And that's because it only takes 2 to 3 years for him to burn out at one place. And then he's got to move on and move on and move on because he can't keep his functioning alcoholic facade together, for that long.
Wow.
So,
and I have to wonder what sort of reference and background checks these people are actually doing, that they are actually even hiring him, to be honest. I mean,
when Rob got the job and he first started talking to me about the job, which was over a year after he started working there, he was telling me how happy he was and how lucky he was, and that he had gone an entire year looking for a job after the last situation. He couldn't find a job in the US, and that I was right because he had a record now in the US for alcohol abuse and violence, that no university is going to have him. And
let me be very clear, the times that he was arrested for abusing you, you've actually never pressed any charges against him.
He's never actually been arrested for abusing me. So I called the police on Mother's Day because I needed help making sure he didn't end up dead. And he made the situation worse. There was another situation, I think a month later than that, where he was home driving drunk. He broke my phone in half because he was angry about some things and dragged me around the house by my neck and everything else. He was just absolutely enraged. And then he wanted the keys so that he could go wherever he wanted to go. And this time he didn't have his keys yet. So rather than try to stop him from leaving, I just took the keys on the wallet and I hid them. And so he didn't have any money and he didn't have his keys. I'm not going to just let him go drive drunk, and nor do I want to call the police and say, my husband just left drunk. Please go arrest him. I just want him, I want him and everyone safe. And so there was that situation, but he called the police on me to tell them that I took his stuff and wouldn't return it. So a police officer showed up. Rob explained the situation. He reeked of gin, and I could see the officer rolling his eyes. And he says, so he goes, have you been drinking, sir? And he's like, no. And he's like, sir, I can smell the gin all over you. And then it got flipped around and said, technically it was illegal for me to take his belongings, and that I needed to return them. And I went, oh, well, if he's allowed to lie, so am I. I have no idea where his keys and his wallet are. I said, I just told him that to mess with him, sir. And he almost got in a fight with the the person that the officer that he's speaking with, because he challenged him. And so I had to assert myself in between the two of them, because Rob was ready to start fighting with a police officer because I would not give him his keys to drive drunk. And you see how absurd that sounds. And I remember the police officer looking at me that night, and he said, are you okay, ma'am? And I just, I'm all alone with this man and children and everything else. So I just looked at him and I said, I don't have a choice but to be okay, man. And, and then he's listening to a little bit more, and he looks at me and he says, why are you two even married? And at this point, I'm really annoyed. And I was like, please just mind your own business before you make it worse. I was like, he's like, but are you okay? And I'm like, I have to be. I don't have a choice. If I'm not okay, my children have nowhere to go. So unless you plan on removing him from my home, I was like, the police are not near, they want to be helpful, but it's really difficult when your abuser is standing right there. So, and even if they weren't standing right there, there's consequences later if you displease them or mishandle something to their liking. So anyways.
Wow. It's shocking and unbelievable at the same time, what he's been able to get away with. Nicole, I want to personally
stop
thank
getting
you.
away with it. I would like his employer to hold him accountable for sobriety.
Yeah, I mean,
it's in his best
obviously,
interest. It's in my children's best interest, which is in my best interest. It's in the university's best interest, because then they get to keep somebody that really is a good professor. Narcissism aside, he's a good professor. He's an asset to them. Sober. But he can't run around the island and make a fool. He's going to hurt somebody. I don't want to tell my babies that their father is now in prison for killing someone, or that, he's dead.
Yeah.
I don't want him kicked off the island with nowhere to go and nothing to do with him there.
Before that happens, really. So looking at his LinkedIn, I can see that he was at Texas Tech University for 3 years and 2 months.
Yes.
He says he was the regional manager at DMT USA for 10 months only.
Yes, that's when we met.
At the University of Texas at Tyler Health Sciences for 7 months. So you're right about him not being able to stay any place for long. He was assistant professor at Campbell University 2 years and 6 months. And now he's been at St. Matthew's University for 2 years and 8 months.
And now he's all over your island wreaking havoc.
Yeah.
With a different woman.
And
with a different set of problems.
Not being held accountable.
With the same problem. So I don't, it's one of those things. It would be really easy for me to hate him and
where did for his arrest records, where did the one take place in the bar fight and stuff like that? So I'm wondering how he was able to get a clean police record to even come to the Cayman Islands, because that's a requirement.
He doesn't have a clean police record. He has a record in North Carolina for trespassing, drunk and disorderly, and assault.
Wow.
I don't know if they were misdemeanors or not, but that's what was the result of that baller fight. All of that stuff happened in court after I had gone. So I I wasn't privy to those details other than what I can read on the internet.
Well, it certainly does beg a few questions in terms of how he was able to even get here. I don't know.
He told me he was lucky to have that job, and that quite literally they were the only ones that would have him.
Right.
Those are his words to emphasize how important his job was.
Do you have a middle name for Robert?
Robertus Hubertus Petronella Hilgers.
Okay, just trying to find him online to see if we can figure out, maybe he's using a different name or something to kind of hide himself.
Well, see, here's the thing. In the U.S., arrest records, court records, all that stuff, there is no general database. It's by state, by county. So you might be able to look something up by the state and then narrow it down to the county to find the actual record for something. But if someone is just doing, other than whatever is listed on a basic background check, which I don't know if it's not there, maybe you can pay to have it removed. I know he's paid to have things removed from the internet, redacted, and I'm not really sure. So, but that's why, what does a background check look like in the Caymans versus what it looks like in the U.S.? Is it the same report? Are we pulling the same data?
Yeah,
we don't know.
Obviously, the U.S. being a lot bigger, it's probably easier to
it's a lot easier. You can have arrest warrants in 47 states and 130 different counties. I mean, and people don't know where. I mean, unless these are heinous crimes, no one's going after you for that.
Yeah.
It's the only time you're getting arrested for those things is when you get randomly pulled over by the police, which is why you see people running because they're like, "Oh crap, I'm definitely going to jail."
Yeah. So he is he's an American citizen, I take it, at this point.
No, he obtained his permanent residency by our marriage, so his green card, and then after the 3 years, he was eligible for citizenship. He took the test when we got to North Carolina. He took it 11 days too soon or something like that. And with with immigration, they have absolutely zero wiggle room for even the tiniest mistake. So he went and took the test, paid the fee. At least that's what he told me. For all I know, he went to DC with a woman. But passed the test and then got a letter saying, which I think I did see the letter, so it was probably true. But saying that it wasn't he wasn't eligible yet, and that he would have to repay the fee, resubmit the application to take the test, and retake the test. So it was like $500. And so from what I gather, he never got around to doing that. So he told me that he is no longer, that he lost his green card because he has not been in the U.S. in 2 years. And I don't know if that's technically true because he is very much legally married to a U.S. citizen. So I don't know what the immigration laws are on it. I don't know if he's telling me the truth, but I've got 2 children to keep up with rather than look up yet another international law that is confusing, that doesn't make any sense, and no one knows how to execute.
Okay. All right, Nicole. We appreciate your story. My goodness.
Thank you for having me.
Wish you the best of luck with this. I'm not really sure how this is going to all pan out.
Yeah, no, I don't know what the result is here. His cooperation is key. Just please cooperate with me. I want to be divorced. This can't keep being a central thing in my life if I'm going to move on with my children. So, if he would just cooperate, this could be over really quickly. Even if we go to court, it would still be over a lot quickly if he would just cooperate. So that's where I am. And I'm just kind of stuck being married to him because I can't go to, there's like I asked, I was like, how much time has to go by? How many attempts do I have to make before I can bypass this and go to a judge and say, listen, I've been trying to do this for 4 years, and I'm on my 6th attorney. And, at what point can we just say, he's not going to cooperate, so give her the divorce? That won't happen. So the service thing is key. So it also costs about $2,500 to have someone served internationally in the Caymans from the U.S. So if there's anybody out there that would like to serve Dr. Hilgers with some papers, I'm sure I could, if you're certified, I'm sure I could get my attorney to give you a call. But I really don't know what to do except reach out to the people of the Caymans and, maybe social pressure. I'm not telling you to throw rotten food at them in the streets or anything, but, establishments, restaurants, bars, liquor stores, you can all refuse them service. I know it sounds ridiculous to try and force somebody to be sober, but we can make it a lot harder for him to be a drunk. But the more, the more sobriety he has, the better off he's going to be for himself, for everybody, because he's a narcissist and he exists in the world and he had a family and still has a family and we have to live with it. So I don't want to. I don't want to be an evil, bitter, jaded woman scorned or anything like that. I still want to see him eat, just not at my table.
Right.
And the problem is that he doesn't seem to want to see us eat at his table or anybody's table.
So sad. Nicole, thank you so much. It's important that we hear from victims and that you're able to share your story, because I think surely there's someone who's listening this morning that you may have saved from another drunken narcissist, another abusive relationship. People, I think the bottom line is if you see the signs early, even at the honeymoon, try to get out as quickly as you can.
The sooner you get out, the better.
Yeah.
Do you have the TikTok video that I sent you? That was something that so perfectly spoke to me when I was trying to come to grips with. I was trying to come to grips with what this phase is that I'm in, where it still feels like I'm being oppressed and abused, but yet I'm, everybody, technically I'm free, but I'm not. It's so
here.
There's a lot of influencers out there that are. There's tons of materials about narcissists, but there's very little material about what happens after you leave the narcissist. And so when I saw, that particular TikTok video, it just sort of rang true for me. And I, just that, 30 seconds that it is long will really help people understand what the people in your life that have left an abusive partner are still going through, especially if they have children with that partner.
Yeah.
So
let's play the video as we wrap up and we end the show for sure. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
This myth that single moms can just leave their abuser. Single moms don't leave their abusers. Single moms have to escape their abusers. It took my mother over 2 decades to get away. Stop minimizing the complicated, difficult, and prolonged process of escaping. Saying you're leaving is the easy part, and getting out is only the beginning. Having a place to go, having the money to get the place, finding a job, setting up daycare, trying to get all the bills back into your name when usually he's fucked up your credit. Post-secondary abuse is real. Women being stalked and abused and threatened and accused of things by their abuser exists. Don't tell women how easy it is to leave if you've never been in an abusive relationship. And even if you have, you haven't been in her abusive relationship. It is so much more complex than most people can even comprehend. The just leave comes from the never been through it people.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.